Hey guys, so we had started a really good conversation for 10 minutes and we forgot to record it. So let's rewind a little bit so people that watch this replay can actually get the benefit. So today we're gonna do low ticket stuff. After that, we're gonna do CMO, CRO stuff. There's a tremendous opportunity in both. Low ticket stuff is fantastic because you can very easily run your own offers. You can do it for clients. You can take people that had webinars, turn them into low ticket. You can take VSL, turn them into low ticket. And yeah, so you can build these things between, we've built them for like $50,000 to $100,000. You can build them for $5,000 to $50,000, whatever you can get, and I'll teach you how to do the whole thing. And then after we're gonna do CMO, CRO stuff. There's a lot of opportunity for CMO, CRO stuff because if you look at the world, there's a lot of different forms of commerce that uses very different tools outside of webinars, offers, copywriting, et cetera. So the more skills, the more broad your skill set is, the more opportunity you'll have, right? So for example, you can go be a CRO in the crypto companies. Last month they raised like something like $80 billion. So there's still plenty of money in that. You can go do CRO for Shopify stores. There's millions of them running. You can do all sorts of stuff, right? So Zach asked me, what's the difference between a consultant, CMO and CRO, coach and all that stuff. So the difference is like with consulting, you come in, and it's like you look at something and basically what they're paying, there's three things you can charge for, right? It's time, experience, and skill, right? That's kind of the equation. And I have it in my notes. I'll teach you guys when we do that call, but it's time, experience, and skill, right? Time is the rarest one because that's not something you can just go get. You have to have it, right? So my pricing factors in time, which is the most valuable. So time, experience, and skill. And then the second one is experience, which is second hardest to get because you have to go do stuff, right? And now there's some people out there that are just like they start and they just have it, it's like they don't need a lot of time, right? They just have some people just have the gift. And so and then you have the skills, right? So skills are basically like what you can do. And so when you look at that, like you kind of weigh it, you can kind of figure out where you charge. And so when you start looking at it, which one of these goes up is determines what you price, right? Anyway. So when it comes to consulting, you're taking your experience, your time in the game, and skills, and all that stuff, and then you're giving advice, et cetera, right? So in essence, it doesn't matter. It doesn't mean how much energy you put into something. They just want the outcome, right? So I'll do a call here I did for Fast Forward called The Stages of Markets. Eugene Schwartz has a really great, the unaware, aware, that type of model. I have a new model that I think it's different. I wouldn't say better because I don't want to step on Eugene. He's one of my heroes, but it's different. And I think it's very useful to me and it's useful to a lot of people because I think it better explains the state of the market, right? Where I think what happens is that, let me write this down. Eugene's model is very good at individual basis. My model is very good at market basis, right? And so once you can look at a market basis, you can do a lot of stuff, right? So that's what happens, right? And so you give them advice and consulting. It's their job to implement. You can give feedback and all that stuff, right? With coaching, your job is to go there and pull the magic out of somebody, make them realize their greatness. That's what coaching is. That's what coaches do. So like on the football field, the coach trains the athlete to be better. That's coaching, right? Vendor role is when you actually do the work for them, right? Vendor. And most people in this industry don't know much about the vendor role. And this is where they kind of mess up their pricing a lot, right? Because what will happen is like a client will come in and basically get you to do some consulting, and next thing you know, you're doing coaching, and next thing you know, they finagle you to be a vendor, right? And now you're like building funnels, doing all the shit, and you're like, what the hell are we doing? So one of my favorite phrases with clients is like, that's not part of the deal, or that's a separate deal. And then I just explain to them what a vendor is and how that looks, and so on and so forth. But in this whole thing, you should have a base fee per hour. And that's what all professionals have. Like, so if you go to a lawyer, he has a base fee. If you go to a doctor, he has a base fee, whatever you want your base fee to be. I started mine at 2,000 per hour. Now it's up to 7,500 per hour, right? And the way you start is the level of comfort, right? So what'll happen is like, when I first started, it was like it was actually 2,500 because I charged Matt Basic $2,000 like 10 years ago for consulting, right? Or like 5 years ago or something like that. And because he was the first person to go, man, I would pay you like $2,000 an hour. And I was like, here's the link. And he paid. And I was like, shit. And then when I started, it was like 2,500 and people paid. And I was like, this is interesting. And then I just went to like 5,000 and then people paid. And then I had somebody come to me yesterday and they're like, they had this like, laundry list of problems. I'm like, $7,500 for an hour, done. And they pay. But it's interesting because like, your level of discomfort in your gut will determine if you get it more than anything, right? So you guys, if you go to somebody and they ask you, and as you're typing it, like just before you're about to hit enter and send that thing over the internet, that price to them, check your gut. If your gut's really off about it, probably you're not going to get the deal. Or it's just like it has nothing to do with the value, with the skills, whatever. It's just like you're going to pack some like bad energy into it, and they're going to feel it and not pay you, right? It has a lot to do with like how much you feel you deserve it, right? That's to the degree that they pay you. So what'll happen is you go to it and then basically you normalize it and then it just comes out and then you get it and that's it. And then, you start somewhere, it doesn't matter. And then you have a, different pricing if they work with you and then it's per monthly and all sorts of stuff, but it's great. Yeah. Does that answer your question, Zach?
Dude, it sure does. Like, because it's really like the core thing I see is that consulting now is really about like the experience and the time and understanding that piece. CMO, it sounds like you're getting a little bit more in the weeds.
Oh, sorry, I didn't fully answer your question about CMO. There's one part.
Oh, that's okay. I was kind of like you were going on the different kind of stages you're talking about, and I love that.
Yeah,
it's just I was kind of like dissecting and thinking about it while you were talking about that too, because my mind's going a million different places.
Yeah, CMO is macro, right? So CMO is macro.
Okay.
What you're doing is like imagine like chessboard, right? And it's like you have a chessboard in the market, and you have an audience. And as a CMO, like what you're doing is you're moving markets, you're moving pieces. Okay, let's put this here, and then the customer will move here, and this and this and this, right? And you have a team under you, right? And the thing with the CMO is like you have to wear many hats. So for example, you have to go talk to the Facebook ad team if they have a ad media buyer. You got to talk to a YouTube guy. You got to talk to the funnel builder. You got to talk to the copywriter, and you can write copy. You wear many hats, right? So you're in an executive position. It's a much higher responsibility, right? So think of it as macro, like big, broad strokes moves that really affect the business. And you're also kind of like in front of the ship, looking at the market as to what's going on. It has a lot to do with like looking at the market condition changes, and forecasting what's going to happen so you can be ahead of the change, right? With CRO, that's micro, right? That's micro. That's like micro stuff. That has everything to do what's like on the pages, in the emails, the words, the sentences, all sorts of stuff. That once the CMO gets the person there, then they basically, this thing causes that change to take place in terms of conversion rate, AOV, and all that stuff. That's CRO, right? There is not many hats to wear in the CRO because you just basically are do this. And then you have degree of it. Do you tell them what to do, or do you just do it for them? The biggest thing I will say, and I shared this on last call, I don't know if I shared it here or fast forward or somewhere, I can't remember, but the biggest challenge I see taking place with clients, be it copywriters, be it consultants, be it coaches, any of this stuff, is their team will affect your ability to get money from them. So for example, like if you have them as a client, on average, you'll get 2 to 3 months money out of them, right? And it can be like 2,000 a month, it can be 20,000 a month. It's 2 to 3 months. The reason being is whatever you give them, for whatever reason, most of them, their teams will not be able to implement at all. So big problem I had was I would give them so much stuff, and the common complaint was like, you're giving us too much. And I was like, what the fuck? It's like, I'll give you less, And so they couldn't implement, right? And I talked to somebody, I think Roman maybe, or somebody, and I was like, here's the issue you'll have. And I was like, you will get them for 3 months. And he's like, holy shit, they're still not implementing the stuff I gave on month 1. He's on month 2. So the way, the future of this, it was Matthew. Yeah, it was Matthew Folk, not Roman. The way to do it is to go find like 2 juniors under you and then take it in-house and become more of a vendor, right? If you become more of a vendor, you can get them for 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, etc., right? And so that's going to be a much better way to be sustainable, right? Otherwise, they just will not implement. They will not implement. Their teams will lack implementation capabilities. And then what'll happen is, nothing happens. And then they'll just be like, I'm not getting value out of this, and so on and so forth. That's it.
I've heard of actually in my I was in a in the Funnelytics mastermind a while ago, and there was a lady that did that exact model. So she had like, hey, if you want me to just come in as the CMO, it's 5K. But if you want us to bring our entire team so we can actually implement this stuff, I think she charged 15 or 20K a month. And she said most people would take the team because then they say, okay, now I've got an entire marketing team to actually implement this stuff. So I
Yeah.
like your model on that. Mike, one more follow-up question, if you don't
Sure,
mind. Is
course.
there a certain personality trait you would say fits these roles specifically? Like my only worry with, I don't see myself big as the CRO person because I'm not the statistic type and I'm very creative minded in that sense. So I know with the wealth dynamics and all those different tests, like, do you find that those certain roles fit certain people better, or what have your experience been with that? Or what are your thoughts on that?
That's a great question. I think like, I'd say like Lord/mechanic would be more geared towards CMO because it is a lot of like Lords like to talk to people and oversee people. They like to lord over people. Like, you know, lord over me, bro. So Lords like to lord over people. Mechanics like to create systems, processes, and they like to do the same thing every day, right? Creatives are really good for CRO. The great secret of CRO work, by the way, it's funny. I had a client, right? Had a client, and somebody in Fast Forward was like doing the CRO work for him, and the guy came to me, and I was like, dude, all you do is like on a Sunday, you look at everything, and you come up with like 30 things they can do, and then you just like copy and paste something every day. So it's like your work is done in like an hour for the whole week, and you're copying and pasting every day what they need to do. That's like the real secret of CRO things. So it makes it seem like, you know, you're doing all this work, but really it's like you have a Google Doc, you're like, here's what we should do, just copy and paste. And it's like, holy shit, he's doing all the work. It's fucking amazing. You know, it's like literally one day a week. It looks like you're working a whole
That's
week.
amazing.
That's the real secret that, you know, you don't, you know, you gotta, like, you know, Dan Kennedy thing, you gotta, you know, you can write a letter in like 2 hours, but you gotta make it seem like you worked on it 3 weeks. So they feel like they get their money's worth and all that stuff, you know. You know, they want to see you bleed a little bit, so you know you pretend to bleed, put some ketchup on, type of thing. Yeah, but but yeah, no, it's really easy. All of it, it's really easy. Yeah, it's really easy. The other big thing with client stuff, it's like their business model will directly affect your business model. So if they have good customers, if they have repeat customers, if they can really help people, then they'll stay with you long term, right? If you get people like that are their customers come and go, then they'll come and go, and that's how it is. Yeah. So one thing I want to do for NHB Plus is we're getting a platform done that's almost ready, and so like I want to keep adding value. So we're going to add a lot more elements to the program to give you guys more value, more like in the platform that I'm building. We have like it's going to be nuts. Like you'll see, like you'll have access to like the world's biggest swipe pile. It'll be over 1,000 sales letters, offers, upsells, emails, like everything. Like you just copy and paste and swipe, right? So we'll have everything. Like we have so we're doing that, and then we're going to do some other great things. And like, so in Fast Forward, there's this sense of intimacy there, like very, very like warmth, right? And what I want to do is in NHB Plus, I want to bring that intimacy more into that group, right? So it's like, it doesn't matter if you guys pay less, I still want to have that magic, right? So I'm after the warm feeling of a community, because one of the biggest things I think in this industry is that it's a very lonely journey. You know, we're all here on our computers, God knows where, right? And it's like everybody's alone. You get off these calls and you're like, fuck, I got to go grind it out. So I think a sense of togetherness is really important, because I talked about this in Fast Forward. It's like somebody asked me, like, or maybe it was here, like, what's one of the best things you can do in this industry to succeed? And what I told them was like, you have to find a best friend in the game, or best friends in the game, right? So for example, like mine were like Jay Diebold and Jordan Hall, right? And so 2 a.m. I'm calling one of them, and we're talking about marketing, sales, advertising, conversions, best friend in the game, right? You gotta find that. So it's like, I want to facilitate so you guys find best friends in the game or groups where you can share stuff. So even after, like, the guys will go into the coffee lounge on Discord and just talk. And I think like Daniel, Neef, and Z now are like, they're in the same market. They're like becoming best friends in the game. And there's this like competitive, collaborative spirit that takes place, right? And like, it's a lot better. Like, it just keeps you going, you know. It just something now, like, so if there's a test you can take. Actually, there is not a test, but this is a thing. Well, it might be a test. It's like there's people that are collaborative workers, and proximity workers, and independent workers, right? So collaborative workers, you got to have somebody around you. So I'm a collaborative worker, so I need somebody on Slack somewhere near me for me to work, right? If I'm just alone, I'm just like, fucking kill me, right? So So collaborative workers like that, proximity workers got to have around them, and the independent workers are just like, I'm just alone. I'm like a cat. Get out of here. Don't talk to me, right? And so, like, I think for a lot of the people that proximity workers and collaborative workers in the platform, we're investing a lot of fucking money into this thing and like a lot of other stuff just to kind of bring that togetherness, and then everybody to support everybody, because there's a ton of opportunity for everybody, right? It's like the world's a big place. There's like 2.5 billion people we can sell to, and there's really not that many of us in relative terms. So, yeah, goal is the next few months is to increase the warmth energetically in NHB Plus, so people feel more together, closer, more empowered, supported, taken care of, and all that stuff. And yeah, and then we're just gonna keep adding stuff, just to make it better and better and better and better in the platform and in the community. More speakers, more resources, more swipe files, more emails, more jobs, more opportunities, everything. And then like the media buyers, what we're doing fast forward is we have a few guys like Edwin, Rohan owns like the biggest media agency in the industry. He does all the ads for Tony Robbins, Dean Graziosi, all those big boys, Ruffino. And so what those guys will do is they'll come and do data sharing on Wednesdays. And we've had this in the works for like 4 or 5 months. We just haven't, for some reason, we just haven't done it, but I think it's time to do it. And those data sharing calls, the goal is like, they'll come in and basically like, here's what we're seeing with the challenge funnels. Here's this type of model that works. Here's that type of model that works. Here's our revenue. Here's what sucks, whatever, right? And so real world data, I think it's very useful, right? So we're going to bring that in as well. So as much as I want to just keep packing as much value as humanly possible, because my standard is, how would I feel if I was in your shoes, right? Would I feel good about being part of this? Would I want it? And if the answer is yes, then I'm doing a good job. If the answer is no, I'm not doing a good job. Like I'm a very big self-critic. So that's coming up. So shall we get into low ticket offers today, guys? Here you go. Here's the doc. All right, there's a document, low ticket offers. Let me check if I've had, does anybody remember if we did low ticket offers in the fast forward? A low ticket. I don't think we did. We didn't, did we? No, shit, I thought we did. I thought we talked about it. Okay, cool. We did. It was as part of the CRO stuff, right? Yeah. All right, so welcome to low ticket. Does anybody not know what low ticket means or what it is? All right. So we're going to start with some principles and premises and thoughts and ideas of why, right? Why low ticket, right? So I'll tell you how I did it and why. So it goes back to about 2008, right? In 2008, we were, the standard model was to sell like a $97 ebook, right? And we sold $97 ebooks. Evan Pagan sold $97 ebooks for W Dating, and that was the model. Like, sold $97 ebooks, and it was fine. And then Amazon came out with the Kindle store, and they did something they released digital books, and they were like $17, $10, whatever, right? That was the thing. And then this concept of price peg emerged in our market. So you guys know what a price peg is? Price peg is like if there's certain reference point of value of something, what something should cost, right? So for example, like, a phone price peg is about, $1,000, right? Like iPhone, I paid like $1,500 for this thing, right? So whatever, right? That's how much it costs. What happens is if some company comes out and they're like say Elon Musk comes out with the Tesla phone and it's like $17,000, everybody's like, are you crazy, right? It's like, should be 1,000, right? So there's these things in the market that kind of peg the price of something. And so when Amazon came out, they're like, ebooks should be this much money. And the price of the $97 book collapsed. It just went down, right? Went to nothing. What happened after was on ClickBank, there was a guy named Rob Benwell. I don't know if you guys remember Rob Benwell, like Rob, fantastic Rob. Funny story about Rob, right? So I love Rob. He's one of the funniest people ever. So back then, we were all kind of like just coming up, making too much money for our own good. No such thing as too much money, right? And Rob does a launch, right? And I'll tell you about this offer. He does a launch, makes millions of dollars, and he gets a Lambo, a yellow Lambo. It has to be a yellow Lambo. It can't be under. Everybody got yellow, right? It was a yellow Gallardo, right? And he gets Louis Vuitton luggage. He goes to Louis Vuitton, buys the luggage, goes to give me all the luggage, right? The duffel bag, the roll-ons, all that shit, right? So we go to Vegas. We go to Vegas to party, a bunch of us, and Rob lands, and he's like, "Fuck!" I'm like, "What's going on, dude?" He's like, "Stole my luggage." I'm like, "You don't check in Louis Vuitton luggage. That's for private jets, dude." So he checked it in. They just jacked it, took it off the rails, right? But Rob, I never forget that story, dude. He was like, "They took my fucking luggage," and so, yeah. So, by the way, like it's funny because if you fly in the Caribbean countries, which I used to do a lot, and like you get to an airport like Aruba or something, you'll notice like at the airport, a lot of the dudes wearing Louis Vuitton, Gucci loafers and stuff like that. And then a lot of my stuff got stolen on the way back. And so when you're at airport, pay attention to the stuff they wear and like what you put in the luggage because it'll go missing. So Rob did this offer called bloggingtothebank.com, right? Great name, blogging to the bank. And it was $37 and he made a shit ton of money, right? Shit ton of money. And around that time, Karen Lewis. What's his name? Matthias, what's Karen? Karen Lee, what's his name? Do you remember? He's in a group too. I can't remember his last name. Karen Gill. Yeah, Karen Gill. He launched an offer called autotrafficavalanche.com. So if you go to archive.org, type in auto traffic avalanche, you can see it. You can see blogging to the bank. And it too was like a $27 product, right? It basically followed the peg of the Amazon store, right? Did very well, made millions of dollars. At the time, my buddy Steve calls me from Canada, and he's like, Keith Wellman's doing this VSL thing. I talked about that in previous calls. Write me a VSL. I write the VSL, and basically, you know, and by the way, like now it's like, so it was like, Rob did a launch, Kieran did a launch, and then Roy Oren did a launch. I think it was called like auto push button cash. It got so ridiculous, right? I mean, like, imagine like an offer called push button cash right now. Like, what the fuck? And people bought that stuff in droves, right? So all these offers, the push button cash. Merlin Holmes had a Maverick Money Makers, which is one of the best offers of all time. If you go to archive.org, type in Maverick Money Makers, and you'll see a work of art and biz up. It's probably the best, one of the biggest offers on ClickBank. At the time, I think it was doing like, I want to say $10 million a year. That was nuts. Even today, that's a lot, right? And so Steve hits me up, and then I start doing these $500 offers, and they do really, really well. They make millions of dollars. I do a bunch, whatever. And then at the time, I realized something, right? And that something was that there's a spectrum of people. There's always a spectrum in people in every market, right? So let me share my doc here. So just right here, there is always a spectrum. There's always a spectrum. There's always a spectrum, right? And this spectrum of people basically goes that you will have about 10% they'll buy the most expensive thing there is, right? I'm curious where you guys land. Do we have any people on the spectrum here? Like, not that type of spectrum, I'm talking about the buying spectrum. That like I fall into the expensive side. Like I'll buy the most expensive thing I can afford, right? So for example, like this MacBook Pro, always get that one with like 8 terabytes of data in the hard drive, even though I never use it. Always buy the iPhone with like top tier, never use all of it. And the reason it is I don't like to upgrade, right? I don't like to upgrade. But 70% of the people will fall in the middle, right? And so what happens though is that this 10% to 20% has about a, you know, the top end has about 10 to 100x price elasticity of the lower bottom end, right? Okay. So if the bottom end is, for example, say $20, then it'll go $200 to $2,000. You see how that works? So the bottom end is 20, top end will be 200 to 2,000, right? And this is why when, you know, Rob and the fellas and everything, you know, we're doing those type of offers, you could have a $27 front end and you could promote Greg Jacobs WordPress Mage for like $1,000 and it would work, right? This is why the high ticket backend works, right? And so this is what happens. Like there's like the other side of the market, right? So whenever you see somebody selling something for $20, you can bet you can easily be in that market selling for something for $200 to $2,000, right? And yeah, Drew, 1 second. And what it is, thank you, Samantha. And what it is, it's like you don't need as many customers in the high end, right? Okay. So you don't need customers on the high end, right? So as far as marketing lessons, like that will be forever with you till like forever in this journey. This is one of them. There's always a spectrum of customers. Okay. There's always a spectrum of customers. There's somebody that's going to pay high end, the top tier, as long as they can afford it. And there's somebody that will just buy the cheapest thing no matter what, right? No matter what. When I launched Nothing Held Back Plus, I had 3 pricing levels. I had like $100 a month, $250, and then $500. And then I saw people going to $100, and I was like, fuck, I'm going to deal with this headache. So I just killed it. I was like, I'm just doing one, because it takes a lot of complexity, right, to deal with that. And so this is what happens, right? And so what happens in this case is that the market has a pendulum swing, right? The market has a pendulum swing. It goes left and right, left and right, left and right, right? It has a pendulum swing. So the market has a pendulum swing, right? And that pendulum and that swing is controlled by level of awareness, right? So that pendulum swing is controlled by level of awareness, right? And so what happened was, like, in, you know, a low ticket offer will get more customers. So a low ticket offer will always get more customers. Always, no matter what, under any circumstance, it will always get more customers. It will always convert more, right? It will convert at about 10% starting, right? You can get it to like 15, 25, whatever, takes work, right? But you can, you know, safe bet 10% rule of thumb, right? Now, however, a high ticket offer will always create more awareness. That's the paradigm between the two, right? Always create more awareness. And the reason it creates more awareness is that it has higher economics out the gate, right? Meaning that you can charge, you know, because people will spend more right here, they can do a shotgun approach and cover more ground early on. You see what I mean? So companies, typically the smart companies, what they do when they first start, they'll typically go high price and then low price, right? So most markets and new industries will typically go high price to low price early on, right? Example is Tesla Model S, iPhone, you see? So first computers, right? All more expensive, right? Because there are no trade-offs and then novelty is high, right? What this does is that, I had like somebody get on my spelling in the groups. I'm like self-conscious of it. I'm kidding. I don't give a shit. It's so funny. I saw that and I was like, whatever. It's like, fuck it. What happens is always start higher in any market, right? Because there's no trade-off. There's no alternative products, right? There's no alternative products. So when the first iPhone came out, there was nothing else. When the first Tesla came out, there was nothing else. When the first computer came, there was nothing else, right? And so, I had somebody say something like that to me before. I was like, I'll just have you proofread all my stuff, and then you know, before I post it, and that'll solve the problem. He got pissed off. So what happens is, early on, this pendulum will swing this way, right? The other reason it'll swing this way is there's less moving parts, right? So it tends to be easy. And what happens is, if it's a new market, something new, you can go for a higher price, right? And I ran webinars, you know, so I did like the low ticket stuff. And so the first, it was like the $97 ebooks. Then we did the low ticket launches with like, you know, on ClickBank. They built a lot of awareness. And then I did $500 offers, right? Because of awareness. And then from that, for 4 years, I ran high ticket webinars, right? And all I did was travel, just did webinars 4 years, right? I will do some training for you guys how to build awesome webinars and give you my webinars. You guys can copy, swipe, do whatever you want with as well. Everything, you guys are gonna get everything. And so, you know, and after that, what I did was, I looking at webinars, I started to, you know, they fade away, right? So you look at the data early on in 2014, if you did a webinar, you'd have to be pretty dumb not to make money. You just have to be there, right? So what happens is, and I said this before, where you sell is far more important than what you sell. What you sell is far more important than how you sell it, right? That this idea of where is really, 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 really important, right? Because that's going to control everything. That's going to control the physics, right? It's like we live on Earth and there's gravity. And it's like you jump, you fall, right? You go to a different planet, that might change. But here, it's far more important than what you sell. And so where can also mean in a sense of where, like is in a market, you know, is it on Facebook? Is it on YouTube? Where can also, at what point in time, right? When you sell to slots, who you sell to, slots in between. No. What you sell, then how you sell. Oh, who you sell, what you sell, who. Yeah, that's fine. So it's far more important what you sell as far who and who, yeah, sell to. There you go. So, but this where is really important, really. I'm like throughout our training, I'll keep coming back to it. It's very important, right? And so the market controls everything, right? And so one of the biggest things you have to do as a CMO when we do that training and CRO, you have to really pay attention to the where, what is going on in the market, right? Because what happens is macro controls the micro, but micro influences the macro, right? And so macro means the whole, which is the where, and that controls the micro, right? So for example, I live in the United States, I live in North Carolina, I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, in Plaza Midwood, right? What happens in this area, there's the United States controls North Carolina controls Charlotte, Charlotte controls the neighbor. You see what I mean? It controls how it's done, right? If I lived in another country, there might be certain different laws, different rules, different social customs, whatever, right? And so what happens is here that most people, what they do is they'll focus on the micro, right? So when you guys do CRO, CMOs, whatever offer work, you know, and people come to you, how many of you guys said this? It's like, my offer doesn't work, fix it. And you're like, can't, it's a market problem, right? Like, fix it, make it convert. Can't, man. It's like market problem. And there's nothing you can do, right? Once the market moves on, it's done, right? So for example, where you sell is really important. 2 years ago, you could have half a brain, you know, like not have arms or legs and like peck with your nose on the keyboard and like make a crypto offer and you'd make millions of dollars. Like you couldn't lose because the where was supported by the entire ecosystem of the world, right? You turn on every single news station, every YouTube channel, you know, on Facebook, everybody's rubbing in your face how they got rich, you know, and that's macro, right? Now, if you go do a crypto offer, you are not going to get the results, right? You are not going to get the results. And so when a lot of marketers, you know, go around saying, oh, I did this, I did this, I did this. I'm like, okay, can you do it again? And the answer is typically no, right? So one of the great tricks of marketing fame is lagging wins, right? That's what happened, right? And these lagging wins is what gets you, right? That's what gets you to part with the money with the guru because they're presented and promised as future wins, but they omit, you know, so largely this game is about omission, right? So they omit the where, right? Where. And so the biggest thing is like when somebody says, it's like, when did it work? Where? So if you see somebody posting some shit, when and where, that's it. And then you'll get to the truth pretty quickly if you can do it or not waste your time, right? So this where really controls the things, right? And so in this where is what we sell. So this can be there and then who you sell it to. And then we have what you sell and then how you sell, right? So the way it works basically goes market is the where, right? Where. And then you have product, right? This is product. Sorry, product. So where customer, yeah. So sorry, I gotta type in, I'm trying to do today. Who customer, right? Then here more put in what you sell, and then what is basically product, right? Mechanism of outcome. That's all really product is. And then you go down here, and then you have copy, marketing, whatever, right? That's how it works, right? So if you look at this model, which is the true model of marketing, is that this thing cannot change this thing. It has no power over it. This is much greater than this. You see what I mean? And this is one of the reasons, like 99.9 to the infinite power. Commerce in the world is not done through copy, right? Or what we do largely, right? What we do leverages small numbers into big numbers, right? And this is one of the reasons a lot of the stuff I teach, and I mastered copy. 2014, I became like, a grandmaster of copy, whatever you want to call it, right? And then at the time, I was like, man, there's a whole lot of people making a whole lot more money than me that don't even know what copywriting is. So I was like, fuck, so that wasn't fun. And then I started looking at economics and all these other things. And I was like, man, okay, so this is where it's at, right? And so this is one of the reasons. Yes, exactly, Anuj. This is why one of the reasons, I say you can't split test your way into an offer, right? So and when I see people talking about, we'll split test our way into an offer, they just don't know what they're doing. They're just doing a lot of guesswork, right? And in their guesswork, it does work. I'm not going to lie, it does work if you have a lot of money to lose in those split tests, right? And so if you learn this hierarchy of where rules everything, your career journey skills are just gonna. You ever seen like in X-Men how like Charles Xavier Magneto put the helmet on and gets superpowers? That's what happens. You put the helmet on and you see shit, right? That's it. Yeah. And so the where is not just a market. Okay. There's a lot of things that happen in the market. And one of the biggest things in the market is awareness, right? Awareness. Number one. Okay. Number one. Awareness is number one. Ah, fuck. I forgot to do the mindset stuff with you guys. Damn it. All right. We're going to sneak it in here. Is that okay? I want to do some mindset stuff beginning. Who is it? Zach, you tricked me, man. Zach tricked me. You guys, it's his fault. You guys can blame Zach.
Oh, it's not me this time.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Daniel usually is the one that tricks me, and then Zach got me this time. All right. No problem. Zell hit me up this morning. My man Zell from Singapore. And he had a very, it's weird, man. Like, I've never had an experience where people send me so much love. It's like somebody, who was it? I can't remember his name. I'm sorry. Let me find, I gotta give respect where respect is due. Let me find this chat here. Hold on a second. Where is it? Let me go in my chat. This is really big. Hold on. Come on. Private chat. Oh. Damn, who was it? 1 second. Sorry, man. I feel terrible for not remembering. There's just 550 people to keep up with. Oh, Keith Dingler. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you. Sends me this like, it has to be like $2,000 coffee maker. Like, I'm not kidding. It's right there. I'm looking at it, right? And it was this big box, and I had no idea who sent me this coffee maker. Huge coffee thing. I was like, did somebody make a mistake? I look at it, there's a card in there. I finally found the card. It was like hidden. I was like, thank you so much. I've never had so many people show me love like in a product. It was crazy. There was actually one time I did an offer. I did a call with Steve about PPV, pay-per-view advertising. And I literally had people for 5 years find me on Facebook, like through social media, whatever. And like, dude, that call was amazing. It was like 5 years, right? And that was the first time I started talking about economics and all these things. And so I had Chris Penny send me, and where is it? Man, I gotta say, this is like, it was like a signed copy of How to Get Rich by Felix Dennis. So thank you. That's like one of my prized possessions now. It's gonna be with me till I die. I'm probably gonna get buried with it. Then somebody else sent me like, it just keeps sending me stuff. It's crazy. And Z, and like thank you messages and stuff. It's like amazing. So Zell sent me this thing, huge thing, like, opens the heart, tells me, changing his life. And he, it feels good, man. It feels really good. Like, what the, this is interesting. And so I told him, I was like, would you like to know another secret in like this journey of, self-development? And would you like me to share the secret with you guys? And like, when I told him, he was like, fuck. He was like, holy shit. Like, what the fuck? Like, he was like, damn. So I'm gonna teach you something, right? This is part of this deal. And it's also some good self-help stuff, right? Ready? All right. This is the big idea. How many of you guys have problems in your life? They don't have to be bad problems. I don't have enough money. That can be a problem. I got to lose weight. That can be a problem. I can't, I'm tired. That can be a problem. Maybe you have problems in life. Any problem. Everybody has problems, right? Everybody. I'm waiting for somebody to say no because I'm like, we have a psychopath or sociopath. Because, you know, they say 20%, like, what is it? Like 1 in 5 or something is? So I'm like trying to find out which one of you lacks empathy. I got problems, they got problems. Okay, so everybody has problems, right? So one of the things that that I have is this, that I told Z, right? I'm gonna highlight this right here, you guys, and we're gonna reflect on this together. You cannot be aware of a problem and keep the problem unless you like having the problem. You guys see that? Is that like, let that sink in for a second. You can't be aware of the problem and keep the problem unless you like having the problem. Think about it, right? It's like, you know, it's like, for example, if I'm hungry and it's a problem and I'm not, unless I like being hungry in some level, or there's something else that I like doing more, then I like it, then I keep it. You see what I mean? So this is one of these, like, this is your mind lesson for the day. And so what happens is, whenever you try to fight a problem, whenever you push against something, what happens? What happens whenever you try to push something against something? Whenever you push against something, it pushes back. Exactly, right? And so what happens is when you have a problem and you fight it, either you like keeping it. If you find a problem and fight it, push against it. If you ever find a problem, fight and push against it, either you like having the problem or that is not the problem. You see this? How's that for some mind self-help for you fellas, ladies and gentlemen? See, right, this is what happens, right? So it's like whenever you push against something, it pushes back. And so a lot of times, for example, you'll be like, I don't have money, and you'll push against this concept of not having money, and it'll push back. So you never have money, right? And for example, like a lot of people, when it comes to losing weight, they'll be like, I'm gonna go work out 3 hours and, you know, run 7 miles. This is David Goggins shit, right? And then the body pushes back. You know, David Goggins, like, he's peeing blood, you know, blisters, you know, growing a tail, 3 heads, like 4 nipples, like crazy shit he has, you know, body mutating. And yeah, no, he really did pee blood. Look at him, like literally ran like 700 miles, something. It was like crazy guy. So what happens is, like, it pushes back. So if you're aware of the problem, and you keep the problem, you like having the problem, right? Then the question then becomes is, why do you like having the problem? Or is that really the problem, right? Because you can't be aware of it otherwise. You just can't, right? And so this is what happens. I'll give you a story, right? So a buddy of mine, a good friend of mine, father smokes, right? He smokes. He's been smoking forever. He's like 57 years old. He's been trying to get his father to quit smoking for a long time. And like everything he tried, you know, the Chantix, the quit, the nicotine gum, you know, hiding the cigarettes, you know, putting him in a cabin in the mountains for 3 weeks where there's no stores around. Somehow he'll smoke like a tree. He'll find tobacco in the mountains, you know, he'll do all this stuff, right? And, you know, and so what he found was, like, his dad wanted to quit, but he liked smoking. So he liked having that problem, right? And what he did was to do some work on him. And they found that what his dad was like, whenever he smoked, you know, he was a, you know, cool 16-year-old kid fitting in his high school with his friends, right? So he liked smoking because he relived those memories, right? So the problem wasn't the problem of smoking, it was problem of changing those memories, and that there was that thing there. You see what I mean? So what I told Zell here, is Zell on? Are you on, Zell?
Yep.
Yeah, so Zell said, oh my God, this is so true. Since I uncovered a problem, the rest of my psyche does the work to find it. So this was Zell's thing right here, after I told him this. So he said this, like, once I uncovered a problem, the rest of my psyche does the work to find it. So your job in life to become rich, successful, superhumans, whatever you want, that God created, you intended, your faith, is to find the problems. 98% of your work should be to find a problem, not how to solve it. This is where everybody fucks up. Everybody's trying to solve a problem. And what I'm telling each one of you, you guys are solving the wrong problem. You guys always are solving the wrong problem. Because if you knew what the problem was, you wouldn't keep it, right? If you get sick, what do? You go fix it, right? You don't, unless you like being sick, right? Some people like being sick because it gets them attention. People feel sympathy for them. You know, they get attention, all this stuff, you know, they feel taken care of, love. So some people like, you know, this, I have a buddy here, right? I have a buddy here and he's always sick. And like, the reason he's always sick is because his family pays attention to him quite a bit when he's sick. So he relives that, right? And so your job is to always find the problem. That's the battle. That's the battle in life. That's it. Find a problem, and you will become rich. You'll be smart, you'll learn, you'll find a problem. Most people do not do this. They do not find a problem, right? And one of the ways that you know that you didn't find a problem you're always getting the same outcome from what you've been doing, right? So if you've been trying to lose weight a certain way for 10 years, well, you didn't find a problem that's causing you to prevent you from losing weight. See, if you have a business and you can't make an offer, you didn't find a real problem you have, right? So my job here in NHB Plus, to fast forward, this is what the whole this whole program, mastermind group, whatever you want to call it, is this: me helping you guys find what the real problem is. That's all I do. And that's why I always tell people is like, my job is just to bring the magic out, right? You guys heard me say that to other people. It's like, you guys have magic in you. My job is to figure that magic and remove the shit and let it out, right? That's all. Because I did it to myself and I can help you do it as well, right? It's just going to take a while. So this is the self-help lesson. You guys get this? I'm not seeing a lot of excitement in our chat. This is big. Probably one of the biggest things in your life. That's what's for me. So I want you to think about this. And what happens now, we're going to connect this to the low ticket offer, right? In the low ticket model, what happens in this awareness section right here, right? Other people run advertising, they run marketing, they make people aware, right? They make other people aware, right? In Fast Forward, there's a concept I call studying the supply, right? I did a whole call on it, so I'll do a little bit here. Is it okay for me to do a little bit on study the supply and demand, right? How many of you guys study economics, like classical economics, the supply demand curve, you know, X-Man, right? Chat, yes. The supply demand curve, right? Most people, what they do, and this is gonna be a separate call for a later time. Most people, what they do is they study demand side. Would you guys not agree that's true? Most people study the demand side, right? Funny, you guys thought this call was gonna be like, here's a fucking template. Here's how you do some copy. You know, here's a headline. I had Patrick Sargas go in Fast Forward yesterday in the Fast Forward lounge. He's like most people in other masterminds like, here's how you run Facebook ads. Alan's like talking about watching The Observer and, you know, finding enlightenment and the keys to the universe. I laughed. I'm like, yep. So, you know, I more marketing isn't what you need, right? You guys know how to write copy. You can, you know, funnel hack. You can look at shit out there. You guys seen it. That's not the answer. That's not the problem you have. The problem is the depth, right? So this is the depth. Yeah, that's okay. And so what happens is most people study the demand side, right? You know, demand is what do people demand out there, right? Okay. The fundamental problem with studying the demand side is what has already happened, which is too late, right? It's too late. This is the issue. This is one of the biggest fuck ups in this whole industry of success. People go supply and demand side. They just look at the demand curve. What's everybody else doing? Where's all the money made? How are they doing it, right? But by the time you already see everybody doing it, it's too late. Would you guys not agree to that? Agree, disagree, right? So what happens is if this has already happened, there's a lot of awareness there, right? And remember, I talked about this. I don't know if I talked about this call, but I talked about somewhere, whatever, but the more they're familiar with the sales process, the more resistant they are to the sales process, right? So that happens. So what happens when you study the demand side, like everybody else out there outside of this program, group, whatever, you know, they're just looking at what has happened. And then they're basically say, well, that's what happened. And then I'm going to go copy it. One thing they're running into is that when they do that, everybody's already exposed to the sales process. And when they're exposed to the sales process, you resist the sales process. You see how that works? This is why I'm damn sure most of you, like if somebody's out there like, hey, you know, for example, you have one of these gurus and go, hey, you know, here's a webinar, teacher, 3 hours. And you'll be like, fuck off. I'm not showing up for 3 hours to your shit. You know what I mean? It's true. You're not, you can't get money out of it. You can't get you pay attention. Give me your opt-in, I'll give you free cheat sheets. Fuck off. You're not getting my email, right? Join this group. Fuck off. I'm not joining your group. That's what happens, right? Because of this. It's like you're told, a bunch of you motherfuckers try to sell me anymore. Sell me. I don't want to give you my money, right? That's what happens, right? And this is the battle, right? And so what happens is we have to hide the sales process, right? So one of the things is like I talked about hiding the sales process. That's the core of, you know, all marketing innovation comes from hiding the sales process, right? Those that hide the sales process, market innovation, right? The other side though is studying the supply, right? So supply, right? So here in fast forward and here, we studied the supply side, right? Supply is what people will demand in the future, right? And so imagine, for example, I live in Plaza Midwood, right? 10 years ago, nobody wanted to live here. Like everybody wanted to live in the suburbs, right? In Plaza Midwood, you could buy a house for 150 grand 10 years ago, right? Now you can't get one under $1 million, right? 10 years ago, if you sat your ass here and bought 5 houses, like I should have done when I did back, you know, it's funny, Matthias, like I keep telling this story, like I had this like real estate agent, Scott, and like at the time I was buying like a new car every 3 months, 6 months, like very expensive cars, supercars and shit, right? And so every time like we meet for lunch, I show up and, you know, he's like, man, see that, like we're over there. He's like, hey, see that apartment there? Like he's like 60 grand for, we should buy it. I'm like, nah, fuck that. I'm gonna go buy a Range Rover. Next lunch we meet, he's like, see this right there? That's like 85 grand for a close. Nah, fuck that. I'm gonna go buy a GTR. I bought a Nissan GTR, all cash, right? And then it's like, next thing you know, it's like, I bought another car, right? It's like, man, those things are worth a lot of fucking money and those cars are gone, right? And, but the point is like, if you can be at the right time before others, where demand is going to be, you will get rich. That is the entire goal of getting rich in the world. That's it. So that if you can be at the right time, right place before others, that's all you need to get rich or / make money, right? Whatever you want to call make money, right? Make money. That's it, right? Dale has a fantastic thing. He says, this is his line. He says, all profit is made in the perceptive gap, right? All profit, it's like, if you can see what others are going to see, you'll get rich. And that is my gift. I can see things that other people can't see. I can see very, very deep into things that people can't see, right? I see like, it's fucking crazy. Heavy shit, man. And so if you can be here in Midwood and you buy a bunch of these houses like I should have done, you can, you know, it just makes money, right? And so what happens is, yes, Angela, there is actually, I'll talk about end of the call, just remind me. So we studied the supply side, right? Very important, right? And so supply side is what people will demand in the future, right? So knowing this model, then we can become astute observers of markets, right? We can look at things, and then we can look at things, we can know things, and we know what's going to happen. And then if you just get there first, it's a whole lot easier, right? So if you get there first, it's a whole lot easier because there is no one to compete with, right? There's nobody to compete with, right? So for example, like if you know, if you're here in Charlotte and you buy a bunch of houses, nobody wants to live here. There's nobody to compete with for these houses. They're just there, you know, nobody wants them. And yeah, and so that's what's going on, right? Nobody compete with, right? And so you study the supply. So we'll do a separate call on the supply side, how to like go into markets, dig and all this stuff, right? Otherwise it's called something like 17 hours. All you need to know now is that during this process of the where, there's people running ads, right? And what they're doing is they're creating awareness, right? So people cannot sell stuff. So people cannot sell stuff, market stuff, say stuff, do anything without creating something, some form of awareness, right? Awareness, right? That's it. You can't do it. So you pay attention to what everybody else is doing, right? So in that case, for example, I was running webinars for 2004, 2018. I knew the numbers. Like I saw the decline go, I saw the attendees and everything. So I looked at the data and said, okay, well, I know about this pendulum swing, right? So I'm like, what's going to happen next? So then I get on Facebook and I go browsing and I see like Sam Ovens, you know, boom, ad $1,000 to $2,000, right? Boom, Ruffino, $1,000 to $2,000. You know, then you have traffic and funnels guys at the time, right? Boom, whatever they were selling, right? Dan Henry, boom, all high ticket, right? They're all killing each other up here at this price point, right? They're all killing each other at this price point. And I go, well, isn't that interesting, right? Because what happens, because I knew the webinar stats, like, you know, you have, for example, 100,000 people see the ad and like 10,000 will click the ad. And then you have out of that 10,000, you know, 1,000, you know, like 3,000 will sign up. And out of that 3,000 signing up, you'll have, you know, 1,000, maybe like 750 show up. And then out of that 750, well, less, like 500 show up. Out of that 500 to show up, you'll have like 100 to the end. And out of that 100, you'll have like 10 buy, right? So they create 100,000 customers to get 5. See how that works? You with me so far? So they create, they make 100,000 people aware of this thing, right? They built a market. That's why I love Russell Brunson. It's like, dude, just get more customers in there because he's creating a market for everybody, right? And so to me, when I see people running ads and stuff, more competition, I'm like, fuck yeah, this is great. This is the best thing ever. Thank you so much, because they're creating awareness, right? And you should welcome competition. The more competition, the better, right? The worst thing is there's no competition. It's like, why is nobody wanting this shit? You know, there's no demand, right? If there's no money, right? So people always find margin, right? So whenever you see competition, encourage it, right? This is one of the reasons, like, I want to basically level up everybody in here and fast forward and to build the best marketers. So it's funny, I told somebody this. Most gurus think I'm competing with them. That's the idea. They think that's what's happening, right? I'm not. What I'm doing is I'm training all of you to compete with them. That's the part they should be concerned about, and they're not. That's a much bigger problem they'll have than me competing with them. I'm one. There's a lot of you, right? And what happens is, in you guys doing well, you will make more people aware, you'll activate more buyers, and everybody eats more, right? On ClickBank, we saw this phenomenon where, like, we just mailed each other's offers all the time, and this mailing of offers, we would basically activate more buyers. Once a person becomes a buyer, man, they buy everything, right? So Sam Ovens, these guys running ads, and I say, well, you know, great. Robert comes to me, what do we do? I say, okay, low ticket, here's why, right? And then out the gate, we went from spending like $100 a day to like $15,000 a day in like 2 weeks or something in ad spend, right? Blew up, right? And the reason it blew up was because everybody was competing on the demand side, right? You know, more webinar, right? I'm like, have it. I don't give a shit. I want what's coming. I don't care what's coming. Like, I don't care what's happening now. Like, I am not interested in. This is one of the reasons, like, I don't study gurus or marketing or any of that stuff. I do not care what's happening now. I don't care, because it's not what's going to, like, when you see gurus, like, you know, here's the webinar, how I did whatever, or and I'm like, cool. It's like, that's what happened. That's not what's going to happen. Maybe there's some nuggets in there, but generally we're not dealing that, you know? And so, yeah, exactly. So I'm looking what the next problem is, right? Always looking at the next problem. And then that's what happens, right? And so that's the premise of low ticket offers, why they work, right? Because a market creates awareness for you, right? Did I talk about collaborative and competitive pricing here with you guys in previous calls? All right, I'll just refresh, right? What happens is, with high ticket offers, so you have collaborative versus competitive pricing models, right? So one of the reasons I charged $500 for NHB Plus was because so you guys can be in other masterminds and groups at the same time. I wanted you to get both, right? So for example, you could be in another mastermind that charges $1,500, and you can be in this one, right? If I went and charged $1,500, then you could be like, well, do I want to keep this one or do I want to keep this one, right? Okay. One of the tenets of human beings is that humans want freedom in every area of life. Would you guys agree? Right? Humans want freedom, right? America's built on freedom. It's one of the greatest things ever to be free, right? But really, what is freedom, right? Freedom is having choice, right? That's it. So humans want choice. So what I did was basically look at what everybody was paying, and I said, let me find something so I can collaborate with my competitors, right? Meaning like, can I get, for example, okay, for example, like if you're paying Russell $297 or somebody else, well, $500 a month, can you sustain it? You can be in here and you can have Russell stuff. If you're another mastermind paying $1,500 a month, you can come over and do this as well. You can have both. You see what I mean? So you could have both. It collaborates with competition, right? That way I'm not asking you to like, hey, make a choice, right? Because if I'm having you make a choice, then it's a whole different stuff, this thing I got to do in terms of convince you, sales process, move you around, kill the competition, or do all this shit. You know what I mean? And so that's the thing, right? And like I didn't want to affect other people, right? Because one of the things is like, I have this funny phrase, we're measured by our enemies, right? And so in business, it's good to have competition. You don't want to kill them. Like it's good to have them. And the reason it's good to have them is because they bring you customers, and then, it's good. More awareness is created, right? And so that's what happens. And so for me, it's like, it's good to not kill them, because it's like, you want them to do well as well. One of the craziest things about the universe that way it works is like, you guys want another self-help gym that really helped me out? It's a mind fuck. So one of the biggest things that, the whole manifestation thing, air quotes, like big air quotes, and you get like those football gloves, right? And so with manifestation stuff, what's really interesting is like, if you, whatever you wish for yourself, wish for your enemies to have as well. And you'll see manifested fast as fuck for you. It's the weirdest thing, right? Because most people are like, I want my enemies not to have anything, and I want to have $1 billion, right? Try it, right? Think of a person you hate the most in the world. And then when you visualize you having $1 million or $1 billion, whatever you want, visualize them having it as well. Like have both, and you'll see the craziest stuff just happen. It's like, what the fuck? Like, it's crazy. Like, it is nuts. It is nuts how that works. And you go, holy shit, this is weird, right? And so what happens here is like, you have collaborative competitive pricing, right? And so humans want choice, right? And so what happened with like, Sam Mullins, Ruffino, all these guys, all I have, I respect them a lot, great people, great marketers. And so they create a lot of awareness, right? They create a lot of awareness. I don't have any enemies. it's just a funny thing. Cause Ryan Eagle back in the day, I don't know if you guys remember Eagle Web Assets, Ryan Eagle, he was this like meme type of marketer, right? Like literally he was like 14 years old, grill in the mouth, Bentley, all that stuff. And he used to say, I have a lot of enemies and shit. It was just a funny dude. It's like a funny thing to say, right? There's no enemies. There's just competitors though. And so, well, I guess there would be competitors if they could compete. So I guess I don't really have any competitors either. So, that's funny. So anyways, you have collaborative versus competitive pricing, right? And so in that sense, you basically, in competitive pricing, you price something the same. So with the low ticket offer, what it does, they can have it, right? And so what happens when you have guys like Ruffino, Sam Mullins, and whoever, right? Create 100,000 people that are aware but cannot buy their things. They drive up demand and want, right? Through exclusion, right? Through exclusion. So they drive up demand and want through exclusion, right? Meaning basically like they exclude people through price, right? Right. And then basically it creates this massive awareness for a low ticket offer, right? So when you think about markets, and as far as like, hey, should I do low ticket, high ticket, whatever, this is the framework you can use, right? This is the framework you can use. And then, you study the supply side, right? And so when it comes to this, then, you build it, right? You basically build it, right? And so in essence, what you're doing is you're writing somebody else's marketing. Somebody else did all the work for you, right? So for example, iPhone came out, I don't know what it was, how much, like $700 when it first came out. And Google was like, we're going to make one for 200, right? And then Android just blew up, right? Because a lot of people couldn't afford this globally, right? That's why Android is a globally dominant platform, right? Because more people could afford it, right? And so that's what happened, right? And one of the things that Brad said, I can't afford a 10K program, but I can afford $100 swipe file. That is true. but you have to think about it, they can't afford it now, right? So what happens with when it comes to, you know, high ticket programs as well, what most people understand is that most people, when it comes to selling high ticket programs, think that, you know, you're selling them, how can I say it? Most people come to high ticket programs, they just buy this, right? There's something else that happens. For every dollar that somebody gives you, you're at the same time asking them not to spend a dollar somewhere else. You follow me with that? This is really important psychology. So for example, like, you know, if you, I don't know, let's say you spend $1,000 on an iPhone, right? That is $1,000 you couldn't spend somewhere else. That's a big thought, right? This you couldn't spend somewhere else is the stuff that really fucks the sale, not the stuff what they want. It's the loss of other things they could get that prevents them from buying. So when you're writing copy and doing marketing and messaging and conversion, all that stuff, a lot of your work is to eliminate the alternatives as to why this works here. In Fast Forward Friday, I'll probably do a call talk. There's a big difference between you can actually engineer excuses versus justification. So what most people do in marketing, they'll create justifications, you know. And one of the new things I'm doing that's very Dark Lordish but fun is like you help people create excuses, right? And so you help people create excuses, right? So most people, when they do, I talk about the BSL calls, like people are obsessed with story. I'm obsessed about getting people to tell themselves the story. That's when they're telling themselves the story, then it's their story. It's no longer my, it's your story, right? And so that's what happens. And when the people can take the story and own it, it becomes really powerful. And through that, you got to, you know, excuses. That's where you insert excuses. And you know, so you have to argue with them, not against them, right? With them, not against them. There's a whole call we'll do it for that. And I'll do it for an HV Plus in due time as well. So anyway, this is what happens, right? So any questions here? And now we're going to go into the nitty gritty and show you how to build it.
Yeah, just on what you said, like right now, how do you get people to tell themselves the story? Is it
Separate call. That's a separate deal. Just kidding. Go
got
ahead. You have to, there's a fantastic read you should read. Look up Ernest Hemingway's iceberg theory, right? Look up Ernest Hemingway's iceberg theory. And before Hemingway, you know, if you read the stories, there were this very flowery language, you know, very like a bouquet of flowers, like, you know, very expressive, you know what I mean? And iceberg theory basically says it's like you only talk about the stuff on the surface and then you leave the bottom for imagination. And when people plug in their imagination into it, it becomes their story, right? So what you don't say and what you don't do is far important than what you do, but you have to do it so they can fit that gap that you create, right? And then it becomes their story, you know? So a lot of, for example, like, you know, if you look at a lot of ads of Rolex and stuff like that, they don't tell you the story about Rolex. What they do is they make it so that you imagine yourself wearing it, and then the story of how the world will perceive you when you become that person with the watch, you see? And then you're like, shit, I gotta get it, right? And then in that process, we take wants to needs, and there's a different process, and which I'll teach in due time. And when you know how to turn wants to needs and how the difference between that, then it becomes something that is bonkers, but not enough. That's out of scope of this call. We'll get to it. We have, you know, I can't give you everything at once. It won't make sense and you won't use it, right? So everything has to be built in layers, because I think in layers, I don't think in sequence, right? You can build your own sequences there. So anyway, back on track. So any questions on this for this specific stuff until we get to how to build them?
I've got a quick question on as far as like forecasting markets. What are you looking for in some of the more evergreen stuff? Like I work with a lot of personal development, spirituality people. And so I don't ever see those markets going away, but I do understand what you mean about them, like having future innovations. So for what exactly are you looking for in kind of more evergreen style markets like that compared to something like crypto that's very, or, you know, finance or stocks or whatever that's very seasonal?
That's a great question. So it's funny, right? Because markets should collapse on themselves. And what happens, every market goes from commodity to utility, right? So if pretty much anything in the weight loss market worked, the market wouldn't exist, would it? It would collapse itself, right? And so what happens in this collapse of self, you become an electric company, right? That's it. There's no more. What happens is in that scenario, whatever it is that they're doing is not getting them the outcome, right? So a large part of the personal development market is this was missing, right? So for example, with the law of attraction, it's like law of attraction works, except, if you have this one piece that was, missing in a document somewhere in like, the desert they found, then it's like you do it and, now like billions of dollars are out of the sky, right? What you're doing is this model that I have highlighted here, they're not aware of the real problem. So what you're doing is you're making them aware. You can't make somebody aware of something if a problem is not created, right? So in this model right here, for example, Ruffino, Sam Ovens, and the rest of the guys, whatever, they'll run their stuff, right? And then basically they'll create awareness, and awareness itself creates new problems, right? That's the thing. Like when humans became conscious, we really became conscious of all our limitations, all the damn problems we had. Fuck, I got to go eat now. It's like I got to go hunt. And so that was the thing, right? So as you make them more aware, and the thing is like, this happens nonstop. This is why markets are living markets. So when I talk about emotions of markets, core emotion market move, this is the stuff. Their markets are alive, and great stock traders know this. Markets are alive, and so what happens is like you can't market, sell, educate, talk anything without creating some problems. So what you're doing is you're looking at the conversation. You're paying attention to what are these people aware of. And the current thing of awareness is there that's what happened. That's the demand side. Then you zoom out and you say, what could they be aware of? And that's the supply side. You see what I mean? And then you have it. And then copy, hooks, everything just becomes automatic. You don't have to spend 3 weeks doing research for a big idea, any of that shit, Very easy, right? Does that help?
Yeah, man, that's huge. And
Okay.
yeah, I completely agree with what you said on the shift. I pretty much write that in all my sales letters, and it makes a huge difference of saying why this hasn't worked. You're missing the 1%.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, cool. Yeah, huge. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alan,
All right.
can I ask a quick question directly
Sure.
related? This
Yeah,
is
who's-
Scott, by the way. I know I'm on camera. So what you're doing when you refer to supply side, it's not that you're looking at the exact specific product. You're looking at what they're making the market aware of. For
Yes.
example, let's just throw something out. There's a problem with iOS and it's everywhere and everybody's throwing it out. Your solution can be completely new, or they could be making, let's just say, TikTok ads, right? Aware.
Yeah.
Your solution doesn't have to be anything related to what they're doing specifically. You can tie in and educate them on your solution as a better way of making that work. Is that, in other words, I'm trying to wrap my head around, and I get it, like the supply and sort of tagging into the supply. We really talking about tying in, let's say, the hook or angle into what's being talked about in the marketplace all the time? If it's not, let's say, crypto to crypto offer, if it's not a direct apples to apples offer.
Yeah. So for example, you cannot make somebody aware of something without creating some type of problem for them. Like you can't. Right?
Yep.
Because out of that awareness comes, let me write this down. You cannot. Come on.
Mhm.
Damn it. There you go. Man, we're going to have the best fucking event when we do the NHBM. We're going to get together. We're going to drink. We're going to party. It'll be good. No fancy clothes allowed. Everybody has to be chill,
Mhm.
All right, cool. So here's what happens, right? When you, oh, sorry. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. You cannot make somebody aware of something without creating a problem for them, right?
Yep.
In order for a thing to become register in a human brain, it has to have some type of value of benefit to them. Otherwise, it does not register, right?
Yep.
It's just like whatever, right? When you become aware of something, it's linked to their reproduction. At the deepest level of human psyche, it's reproduction. We just want to reproduce. If you read the book, The Selfish Gene, there's a bunch of these books that talks about like everything is that, right? That's why all, old school branding that built brands has some type of sexual innuendo in it, right? Calvin Klein ads,
Yep.
Rolex has sexual innuendo, everything has it, right? Like Abercrombie and Fitch, all of it has
Sure.
it, right? It's that
Yep.
undertone, the undertone, we'll do a call on undertones. We got to learn how to create undertones. The undertones are everything. They're the thing that kind of gives the support to what's on top, right? When it comes to that, men always chase status for women's security. Money, one is gain, one is loss, right? So one is gain, one is loss, right? So when a woman gives money, and I think Samantha, this is her. She actually talked about this in Fast Forward. So full credit to her for that. When a woman gives money, she feels a loss of something. She's giving up security. So if she have $100,000 and she gives out $10,000 for coaching, she's giving up something, right? First more, it's one of loss, then gain, right? One of loss,
Yep.
then gain, right? One of gain, then loss. Whereas a guy, he'll be like, fuck it, here's 10 grand, I just want to have status, right? This is why, Rolex and stuff for men, status pieces for men tend to work better on men than women, like cars, all that stuff, right? This is why price resistance of $3,000 you'll bump against, right? And so typically it's a different ratio, right? So for men here, high ticket can be 10% of their annual income. High ticket can be about 3% of their annual income. So that's the number, right? So if you sell stuff in the high price, right? In this process, there have to be some type of awareness to it, whatever awareness. Your job is not to solve current problems. Other people are doing that. Your job is to make them aware, and then you can create your own supply, like I do, or you can see what other people are doing to create the supply to tap into it, right?
Yep.
So it's a lot easier to tap into other people's awareness, creation of awareness, than it is to create it. Requires a lot more energy to create it, right? Does that help?
Yeah, it does. It's like not the way I would put it, which may not be the way you put it. It's not so much a concrete awareness of what they're specifically selling, but what kind of what kind of fears, what kind of existing, how are they making the current market aware of both the market creating desires and fears and et cetera. And you can tap into that for anything you're selling.
Yeah,
you're going to be more successful.
Yeah, it goes further than that because it goes into the whole thing of like if they had a solution to it, they would solve it, right?
Yep.
So, for example, if somebody comes to me for consulting, the reason they pay me is because if they knew how to fix it, they would fix it. Otherwise, they like having the problem, right? So even on a consulting basis, you just make them aware. Here's a bunch of problems you have, et cetera. Because in business, what happens, like when I do CRO, CMO stuff, the problem people have is never the problem they have. And the business they think they're in, they're never in the business they're in.
100%. Yep.
Ever, right? Ever. They're not, like, for example, people think Amazon is an e-com company. No, they're a logistics company pretending to be an e-com company. Google is an advertising company pretending to be a search company. Facebook is an ad company pretending to, Google is a data company pretending to be a search company, phone company, et cetera.
Yep.
Facebook is an advertising company pretending to be a social network. What are we pretending at, right? So on a surface level, we're all pretending we're something else. So it's like you have your software. By the way, Scott has fantastic software. If you guys want some really awesome split testing software, talk to Scott. Very good software for split testing, one of the best.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, so like you're in the software split testing business. You're pretending to be in that. What are you really in? And that's where you compete because nobody knows what you're in, right? So
so the only other thing I would add or ask, and then I'll let you continue, is that there are some problems that our market is aware of that is almost evergreen, right? In other words, people are always chasing the next traffic source. People are always trying to solve why they're not doing well on a particular traffic source, et cetera. They're all chasing maybe sometimes the same problem. When you're tapping into an evergreen type of, what I would at least classify as an evergreen type of problem, how does this fit into your current supply, demand? Is it more nuanced as to what the market is talking about and thinking about right now and tapping into how they're talking about it right now? Or are there just some things that are evergreen sort of problems where the demand is there?
Well, the only reason you have evergreen problems is because those problems aren't solved. People don't, unless people like having problems, right? It's like the only people that like having problems are drug addicts, right? It's like, I like drugs, otherwise they just do it, right? So it's like, they wouldn't have the problems. Like, see what I mean? If they could solve the problem, like you cannot have a problem and like it. Those two things conflict.
Yep.
Right. So if you're, for example, fat, if you're broke, if you don't know marketing, you like being fat, you like being broke, you like marketing, you like it on some level,
Yeah.
or you don't know how to fix it. Right. Then it's like, learn how to fix it, or you like it. And so that's what's happening in these markets. So in that case, then it's like you solve the problem. So then what happens in that case, Scott, is that the problem isn't the problem, right? The problem is not. So for example, chasing next traffic source, right? That's what most people want to do. They think that traffic will do it. In my philosophy, it's all about the offer. It's not the traffic, right? So a lot of people will do,
Exactly.
yeah. So if you run an agency, the agency guys knows that. Here's a shit offer, make it convert. I know Rohan's like, dude, we have clients come to me and they're like, here's a newspaper ad, take a picture of this in the iPhone and run it, and then basically put a button and people will buy it. They're like, what the fuck, right? I'm exaggerating, but that craziness, right? And they're like, it's not going to work, but you make it work. Traffic, right? And it's like, it's not the traffic, it's the offer problem, right? So really you're not in the traffic business, you're in a fixing offers business to make this work. So you're pretending to be see what I mean?
Yep.
That's how that works. And then once you can actually solve it, because you know what the real problem is, you become one of the few people in the world that can actually solve that problem, because nobody else seems to know what the problem is, because if they did, everybody would solve it.
Makes 100% sense. So from a pure marketing standpoint, you're tapping into what they think the problem is, and then educating them on what their real problem is, which is also ties into your unique mechanism and everything else that you're doing with your marketing. Exactly.
And in automatic clients, which I'll talk about in a second, we had basically a philosophy of sell them what they want and give them what they need. That's it. Because they know what they want, they don't know what they need, right? So for example, like, a lot of people here, they're like, oh, I just want to make money, whatever. I'm like, look, if that's not the problem. Like, money is easy. Like, the world's full of the damn shit. It's like everywhere. If I can teach you what I know, which I'm doing now, then you can go print checks for the rest of your life. You will literally have a blank checkbook and like 100 grand. I want to done, right? So, you got to give them what they want.
Yeah.
Sorry, you got to sell them what they want and give them what they need. That's the only way I've been able to reconcile that integrity equation in this industry, right? In terms of like hype to making people happy. So much so that refund rate, I'm like, it's like under like 1% or something, right? So give them what they want, sell them what they need, right? And you can tell what they want based on what they're currently buying on the demand side.
100%. Yep.
Boom. Right. See what I mean?
No, that definitely connected. And I guess the only last question, and I promise I'll drop this, is that where do you usually make that switch? And I'm guessing it depends on markets, meaning do you sometimes educate them about their real problem is in the marketing, or do you try to sell them something, a solution, sort of, I guess I would call it semi-blind?
Oh,
that's a great,
yeah, that's a great question. What I did was, it depends on the intimacy of communication, right? Like you have active and passive communication when it comes to marketing. Like passive would be like BSLs, like, like you'll see Cole Gordon, on an ad, whatever, and like you get on a page, you start, that's passive. They cannot engage, right? The where you do it. So that's a great question. So you make them aware of the problem in intimate environments, right? In intimate environments, right? And the way a brand is built, brand equation is expectation has to exceed experience. Trust is built, right? You can't have experience without engagement. You have to engage with the environment, right? Like people fuck this up. They're like, we're gonna create a great experience. And it's like, you can't have an experience without engagement. They have to engage, you have to engage back. You see what I mean?
Yep.
This creates customer intimacy. And this is when they will listen to you, right? When they can listen to you, they will be ready to hear what you have to say, right? And so it's all about creating intimacy. And the way you create intimacy is there's a back and forth or whatever. So typically on a phone call, whatever, somewhere, et cetera, right?
Yep.
And that's why I like the evaluated call booking models. Oh yeah, that's what I told them. Experience has to exceed expectation. So that's right. My brain is going too damn fast because I'm trying to get to the other side.
Sure.
So experience has to exceed expectation, and then trust is built. That is how you build a brand. Damn it, come on. The guy on Facebook will hate me for typos. All right, so this is what happens. And we're ready to hear what you say. Then it will go into their brain and make them go, oh shit, that's big. And then that's how that works, right? So your goal here is, that's why, like for me, it's all about messaging, right? It's like, how do you get them, attention installation, moving them from here to here so they can listen to you, so they can hear you, right?
Yep.
And this is what happens. Yeah. And so Alex says, so passive would be this. And most people, sorry, let me paste Alex's chat here. Man, we're going off the rails on this call. I mean, are you guys liking the stuff we're talking about, or you want to just get into here's how you write some copy? Here's some copy, the headline. There's a bunch of copy right here waiting for you guys. So we'll get to the copy stuff. So passive ad time, exactly. Yeah. So it's like, it could be group. It doesn't matter. You can even have somebody buy, and then you can have them get on fast, like a webinar, like Evaluate College, but basically somewhere where you can have intimate conversation where you're ready to listen to you, right?
Yep.
That's where like relationship cycles, in fact, that's what we did last week, the relationship sales cycles. This is where they come in, and we'll do that in due time. How to create intimacy. This is where distrust takes place, Samantha. We talked about it last Friday in Fast Forward, right? So any other questions here?
Thanks, man.
So if do you guys think this is some
Alan.
deep, just one question. Do you guys think this is some deep stuff? This one person, damn. So on a scale of like 1 through 10, this is like 2. In Fast Forward, we're like a 20. We go like fucking nuts in there. We'll go, what the fuck? All right, what was the question? Sorry.
Yeah, Alan, I was wondering, like, how do you justify a low ticket offer's price when it's compared to, like, say, for example, there's a BizOp mastermind I'm looking to launch, an offer I'm looking to launch, and other guys are selling it for 7,500, 10 grand. And I'm seeing there's definitely high demand in the niche in the market. But there's a lot of things that they're lacking. I feel like I can express and do it better on a low ticket offer, but how would you justify selling a mastermind type of deal compared to their high ticket price point where they're completely exclusive on their price?
That's a great question. So the answer is that, again, that's not the problem you have. Remember, everything from now on is going to be from this point in time when questions are asked, typically answer, well, that's a problem you think you have. That's the problem they have. That's not the problem. The real strategy of that, it's funny, Scott Phillips asked me too about this, and like it took him, he goes, oh shit, now I get it. When you're running a low ticket offer, you're doing 2 things. You're basically not there to make a bunch of money from it, right? You're there to do things. So low ticket offer does 2 things. One, acquires a relationship, creates awareness. That's it. That's all it does. Okay. Not customer, but a relationship, right? I saw this video of the infamous Andrew Tate, and he was with what's his name? What is that guy that has the MLM scheme? Valuetainment, Patrick. What's his name? Come on, always in a suit. What Patrick? Yeah,
Patrick Bet-David.
Yeah, I saw this thing, and Tate was ragging on Jake Paul, and he said something interesting. I caught it in my notes, right? He said Jake Paul has viewers, not fans. And I was like, man, that's interesting, because like what we also have is like we have customers, but we don't have a relationship. And this is where a lot of low ticket, you'll see a bunch of them running out there, right? You'll see a whole bunch of low ticket offers running out there, right? So you'll see a whole bunch of these guys, getting low ticket offer out there, getting customers, and they are getting customers, but they're not getting the relationship, right? Relationship, you have to first define what a relationship means, right? It means to relate over something, 2 points. Like there's a connector that relates to people, right? And that connector can be like, typically based on outcome, right? And the bigger the trust, the stronger that connection. See what I mean? So here, relationship is a connector between 2 points of an outcome. Stronger that trust, bigger that connection, right? So what happens here when you start thinking about a relationship like that, then you have this right here, experience versus trust, and then basically you just do everything you can to increase their experience, what acquires a relationship. Once you have the experience here, once you acquire a relationship, then the back end will open up, the doors will open, like here's all the money, right? And then you create awareness, right? So if you think about what I did, was like Nothing Held Back Group was a low ticket offer. Interestingly enough, you can't compete with free. it destroys a lot of economics. Think about it, right? Like, go try build Google and give it away for free. Damn near impossible. Go, like, many have tried to build Facebook, right? Yeah, exactly. Anything divided by 0 is 0, right? So it's like you can't do it. And so what most people do not understand, you know, because most people in this industry, all they care about is the money and outcome. They don't give a fuck about anything in between, right? They're just like, how is this money? Phones, that's it. They do not care how the pizza's made. I care about how the pizza's made because it tastes better when you care. Yeah. Low ticket offer does two things: acquire the relationship, create awareness. That's it. Remember what we said earlier. You cannot, what does relationship do? It's trust, increases trust, right? You know, one person that can never get money out of you, who you know, one person that can't get money is the person you don't like. Isn't that true? Like, if you don't like somebody, you know how hard it is to get money out of you? Impossible, right? Impossible. Why do you think all the politicians are very generic? You know how that works? Is if somebody's very generic, you're more likely to, they kind of go unnoticed because they don't fit into this dislike category, right? That's why politicians and news anchors and stuff, they look very generic, you know? They're not polarizing, you know? So there's not and so what happens is it exists to acquire a relationship and create awareness. That's it. That is the purpose, right? At break even or at profit. That's it. Once you start thinking about this, then what ends up happening is, like, you know, you can create awareness for many things, like you and your status, your product, your value, your knowledge, your community, right? Community, you know, anything you want. Once you know this, you can create, you can actually shine a light on what you want them to see, right? Doing that, you can do that, right? So you can create massive awareness, right? And so when it comes to launching stuff and making money, right? The big companies, what they do, and you should study big companies because they make a lot more money than us. And so by virtue of them making more money than us, they know something we don't. Otherwise, we would be making as much money as them. Isn't that true, right? So I study a lot of that. And one of the things they do is they'll always go for a land grab, right? Land grab strategy. And the land grab strategy is always like, who can get the relationship through awareness? So Uber came out and they were like, fuck it, let's lose whatever, $200 a day on each customer for 4 years. Doesn't matter because we know what's going to happen once this thing dust settles, you see? And stuff like that. You know, Google, when it was early, like, here's free ads. We just need more advertisers, whatever. Facebook, whatever. You see, it's a land grab strategy. So low ticket offer is about land grab strategy and dominance in the marketplace of awareness. It's most people fail in low ticket offers thinking that they're there to make money. They're not. This is why in the automatic clients we split the offer into two: acquisition phase, profit phase. This acquisition phase is all about relationship and awareness, you know? That's it. That's it. And so, you know, this is what they do, right? And when you start thinking about it like that, and then, like, you know why, right? You guys want to know? Because the reason is you need to start viewing people like this. A customer is a renewable financial resource, right? That's it. Your customers are a renewable financial resource. When you look at corporate America, you know, if you look at AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, whatever, right? They have subscription services. What they look at a pie chart. They're like, okay, our average customer makes $50,000 a year. How do we get $1,200 a year out of each one forever? That's the game, right? And then that's where the ratio comes, because like, if you, like, for example, like if you sell, like if you have a market right here of women and you go over 3% of their annual income, like say you bump it to 10, you create uncomfortable feelings, especially if you don't deliver on the outcome, right? The problem of delivering on the outcome is that they are the biggest variable in that process. And so what, you know, what I got to share with you guys, I shared that thing what I did for Jesse Ecker. What expectation you create the implication and stuff like that. I'll share the Loom somewhere. I don't know where it is. It's not a Loom, Cloud App video I made from. It's really good. So you have to look at them as a renewable financial resource, right? And then you get them, and then you get money from them for a very long time, right? For a very long time. And so what happens here, Yeah, so you get money from there for a very long time, right? And then people go through these cycles and you find a journey and just make money from it. So that's how that works. So here's how we build them, right? So everybody here should have access to this. If you do not have access to this, contact DM, send a DM journal, and you guys get access to this, all the templates, all the copy, all the ads, all the Facebook targeting, whatever you want, right? You can take this template, you can use it to sell work to clients. You can build your own offers. I do not care what you do with it. Just don't sell it as your own and say, you know, I'm teaching low ticket offers. Here's the thing, right? But if you have clients, whatever, a lot of people will take this and, you know, literally like build low ticket offers, charge them $5, $10, $15, $20,000. Easy work, easy work, easy work, right? So you get the upsells, you get everything. So here it is, and you get the share link. In fact, let me just get the share link right now. I will give it to you guys. Oh, damn it. Hold on. Let me log in. Kick me out. All right, how do we share this thing? Settings. Share. Sharing is caring, right? Oh, well, thank you, JB, whatever your name might be. I don't know what JB stands for. But there's the link right there. So if you click it, it'll just gonna import it. I think Ashish and other people have it in Go High Level, Elementor, or whatever. Like it's everywhere, right? Click open. Yeah, Zach, if you can share it, that'd be wonderful. Thank you. This thing converts between 8 and 15%, right? It converts between 8 and 15% in just about every single market it's gone into, right? Dog training, relationship space, man, guitar play, start a business, all sorts of stuff. You guys see these offers running all over Facebook now. Yeah, and that's 10 to 15%. Yeah, trying to be conservative there, but yeah. All right, it's loading here. We'll come back next week until this this ClickFunnels editor loads. Oh, it's at 10, 50%, whatever. All right, it's not loading there. Damn, man, somebody send a DM to Russell, get this shit working. It's so easy. Like this call could have been like 10 minutes. Like, here's how you modify the template. Bye. So come on, man. There we go. Fucking finally. All right, cool. You guys know, do you guys all know how to modify ClickFunnels pages? So we don't have to cover that, or do we have to cover that? Okay. This was the first one I did. Automatic Clients is the upgraded version of that. So basically you have the logo on the top left, need help, whatever. If you put a phone number, it's going to increase conversion. Headlines for anyone looking to, you know, pre-head, you know, lose weight, whatever. So let's, does anybody have the link of the, actually, you know what? I actually have it. Let's see, deal. I'm actually going to pull up a bunch of these offers and show you where they at. Hold on. Oh, here we go. Aim higher. I'll just show you how others have done it. Maybe breakthrough. All right. Smart dog formula. Where's a dog training one? There's a dog training one. Artist freedom formula. There's Lloyd's. Client business method. Play more songs. This one is cool. I'm just pulling up a bunch of them right now. Flipmasters. This one's doing really well. That's Dr. Antonio. Whoa. Dr. Antonio. Patrick's Unlimited Traffic. Secret email system. There's a bunch. Okay, cool. So, you know, they're all the same thing, really, just different, right? So, all right, Daniel, I won't show yours. Yeah, so basically, you know, new book revealed something, right? So the big difference is like you can do a book, you can do a course, you can do whatever you want. Certain markets will be better to do a book because, you know, having a book gives you a little more credibility. However, I will say that the course has better consumption. It's easier to create, right? In order to create these, if you guys want to do a book, I have a book writing worksheet that I shared, and all you do is you fill this guy out right here. And when you fill this book writing worksheet, you basically create, like, instead of chapters, you do modules. So if you wanted to think about this or creating a course, what you do is like part 1, module 2, and they just become videos instead of chapters. Super easy. You record it, your course is done, right? Very easy. The outcome, etc. So you do that, and you put without. So the headline is typically without. So get the benefit without doing this. There's a video here. We have a script to do the video. I'll send you the thing to do a video. You have a product here. You have the price point, $560, etc. Phone numbers, I don't recommend you collect them. A lot of them will give you a fake phone number. So it's kind of useless. Price point. So remember in the beginning of the call, I talked about pegging the price. Remember a Kindle, the Kindle, yeah, Amazon Kindle. Remember Amazon Kindle talked about peg the price in the beginning. Well, what happened was, like, with some of these offers, I told them to go at $3, and they were like, why? And just gut feel. And the gut feel came out of looking at the current Kindle, which is the Apple Store, right? Apple Store. So what are most apps priced at? $3, right? $3. And what happens is, like, in the $3, conversions were very good. However, Daniel and Z, I told Z to do a price of $11.60. And I did a price of $11.60 on, like, a dating offer, I think Feminine Frequencies. I think it was this one. And how do I come up with these prices? I just pull them out of my ass because I think they're going to work, and they tend to work. And so the price testing should be like $295 or $11.60 or $27. The highest price I've seen it pull was $120 at about 2 or 3% conversion rate in a stop being an alcoholic market. And fast forward, somebody did it, right? So you put what is a 2-hour agency, you put what is your product right here. So, whatever product is a counterintuitive approach to business, specifically the digital agency model that allows you to build whatever right here. And then you put here that it's a shortcut to a goal, to an outcome. And say, before I created this product, and what you were doing, so a little bit of hero's journey. One nuance that I want to talk about here, as far as the whole thing goes, the way this thing is designed is basically, I took what's known as CPA offer back then. And these things used to convert about 15-20%. And so it basically is designed to sell to a highest level of awareness to a market that people are aware of, right? Remember everybody else creating awareness? And so the top part right here gets to a point here, and it sells them the stuff right here. And then basically for the next person, it's kind of like e-com pages. They need a little more detail, how it works, like a summary. And then it expands into like a full-on, long form page. Because if you put Hotjar on your offers and you run them, what you'll find is that people don't read, they skim, they just go like this, right? And so each section is designed to sell the offer on itself without them having to do it. And as they go down, what happens is the way they'll be like, okay, I'm not sold, I need more information, I'm not sold, I'm not sold, I'm not sold. They keep going like that until they are sold and they buy, right? So it captures a large bit of them. So here you put like, before I created the model, I was doing this, whatever, struggling, etc. Here's how it works. And then we basically have the old way, the new way, right? So the way they do it, the hard way, how it's being done, the better way right here. You have your bonuses. We like to do 3 to 7 bonuses. 5's the sweet spot. Bonuses should be like basically something to overcome their objections or limitations, right? And so, for example, the quick start guide, the plug and play template, exclusive how to go on holiday, still make sales, et cetera, et cetera. Have a testimonial here. Clients and features. It was featured on that. Here's how I went from the word how, how. If it's a low emotional, so you just change the why. Here's why I used to do that versus how. 60 hours, there's something, and then you basically literally swipe it. Surprised to see a $5.60 price tag on one of these. I thought you might be, would have surprised you to even more learn. I've been running skeptical. You should be. Little testimonial here. Little disclaimer. When you see the bullets on the right, these are what are known as triple stack bullets. Triple stack bullets have 3 thoughts in them. So for example, discover the exact step-by-step process for finding the most profitable and untapped agency ideas that can generate income. Now use this process. So it has like 2 or 3 thoughts in them. You see what I mean? You want to triple stack the bullets in here, right? And then you put like revealed on what page, or, revealed on video 3, minute 17, whatever. And you just verbatim copy this. And I'll show you how others have done it. Don't change much. Typically when people use it, and it doesn't work, they change 10%. And for some reason, they change 10% that matters. And I have no idea how they find that. And it doesn't work. I'm like, what'd you change? They change it back, and it works. And so one of the things that this one's missing, I'll go over the automatic clients one, is that it's missing the CTAs on the left, right here. You got this on the right. And then I'll talk about pseudo testimonials here. And you have the product, pictures, whatever. This is all done in Keynote, by the way, very easy. This is what this was right here, made with Placeit. If you go to place.it or placeit.com or whatever. And so testimonials, etc. You know, screenshots, whatever. So you just copy this, and I'll give you all these other ones here. You can look at how they were done. Very, very easy. And then you have the bullets of what they'll, learn, the outcomes, the profitable agency ideas, best money back guarantee. And then here we have, here's everything you're getting, like a summary of the offer, this stuff. And then like, Tim Ferriss right here, a quote, sneak peek of what's inside. Patrick Bet-David, that's the guy. Upgrade to first class, whatever. And you're also getting, and so you basically pack it. And so some offers, for example, this one made like $1 million. This is the Airbnb one. New book reveals how to generate recurring income revenue. So you see the same thing, right? How I replaced it. And then the background here should match whatever the theme is of that, the core emotion. So for example, with 2-Hour Agency and B&B Breakthrough, it was like freedom, travel, all that stuff. And that's why that looks like that. This video is really important. Do you know why I rather do XYZ? The vid cap is really important to have it play. Like some people, so for example, Rohan acquired 2-Hour Agency from us. And you'll see right here, like how his vid cap starts. I got to tell him to change it. You see what I mean? It starts at him like, you see, it should be a little better. It doesn't really capture them as well. So, and you see B&B, which is a counterintuitive approach to real estate, etc. It's a shortcut. And then you'll see the same opening here. So price to see if it's price tag one of these. In a market where there's a lot of expensive products being sold, I'll open with surprise to see if the price tag one of these. I thought you might be. In a market where there is no, let me see this one. In a market where there's no expensive, when the price isn't a thing, let me see, where's that one? Hold on. So this one right here, like, would you surprised to learn I quit my, see what I mean? You can have different ones right here, like, to learn I quit my 9-to-5 accounting career, etc. Right? So it's like, you don't always want to use the same one, but the word surprised is quite good. So yeah, here's a bunch. So this one did over $1 million, really good. Same thing. They're all the same. I mean, like, it's like, don't have to change much. This one sold a dog training thing. You'll notice this one doesn't have a video. It doesn't always require a video. Interestingly enough, he had like a recurring on here, and his stick rate was like, fuck, man, it was like 14 months or something. It was insane, right? So if you go, basically this was a PLR product, and he hired somebody off of Fiverr to like be the guru on it. Converted really well. We have a guy in Fast Forward running one of these now in the dog training market. He's getting customers for like 10 to 15 bucks. So works very well. Here's another one. This one is Lloyd. This one's crushing. He's a longtime client. You've probably seen his ads. He was the first one where I used the value of call booking models, where we were like, hey, let's talk about how much is your art worth, and then flip them over. That's where they came out of. $3 right here is doing extremely well. And this is Lloyd's. And you'll see these testimonials. I'll pull up the automatic clients when it's kind of the final version. This is, what's her name? Camilla, I think is her name. Her page is really beautiful. She didn't run this one too hard. One of the things with a lot of people is like, it's one to build the offer, one to run the offer. So this one's really nice. Martin Jolly and Sarah Jolly, they're a couple in Fast Forward. They've built an offer right now teaching women how to, same offer, teaching women how to start a business, whatever, empowering women, and it's doing really, really well. I think like few sales already are working, like somebody's gonna buy the back end. So working extremely well. Here's another one, same thing here. This one right here is, this guy was an Automatic Clients, Steve, awesome dude. He's rocking this one. He's been selling it for a while, selling how to play the guitar, you know, what's practice, let's play, etc. And we work with him on Automatic Clients, and these are like testimonials. I'll show you a demo of Automatic Clients. Here's another one right here, Flipman. This one's doing really well. He teaches people to flip real estate. Again, $3 price point. This is Dr. Antonio. He's a big YouTuber teaching, love, came up with Book of Love. This one's a 7-figure affiliate system. We built this one. This one did like $700,000-$800,000 in a week. $10. It was a launch. Who is this? This is Patrick Kenny, Unlimited Traffic. This is his offer. One nuance, by the way, that I actually have to tell Patrick to fix is like when you're using these product images, you see this. If I open this image and I zoom in, what do you guys see here? Old iPads, yeah. So if you have an old iPad in your images, people will think that, you know, you have an old product, right? And if you have an old product, then it's like, well, is the product old, right? So you have to be aware of that old MacBook Air. So I'm actually going to give you my templates as well. Can somebody in fast forward link that Figma file so I can open and share with everybody? And so, yeah, so you have this. That's one of them. This one's doing really well. We have Matt Basek here. This one sold about 25,000 books so far. I built this one for Basek, was a big launch, and he just kept running it, still crushing it. I think he's running ads to it. So again, same thing, you know, not much difference. And of course the 2-hour agency, and there's like a bunch of these, Aim Higher Academy. There's a ton of these. And so here's the thank you, Ashish. So you guys get this thing right here, and then you basically have the upsells, which I'm giving you. Where is it? Right here. They're very easy to create. And then the upsells, I'll give you the Automatic Clients upsells, or you can use these upsells. I'll tell you the difference. Before I get into that, you guys get this file here that was shared in Fast Forward. And in this file, we use Figma. All right, look at all these greedy little hands on there. Look at them. All right, fuckers, go ahead, have at it. You know, so basically this is the swipe file we use. And so all the people in Fast Forward use this. You guys can use this to build client offers. You can do whatever you want. I don't care. It's yours. You guys part of the family, whatever you guys need to succeed. So here's the secret email system right here. So you basically click this. It's Figma. The way you do it is click here and click duplicate right here, and it'll save it to your Figma account. You see that? Just click duplicate. You can work on it. You can work on it. And so, you know, if you want to have a very beautiful stack, right here, you just basically, these are upsells. So this is the front end, upsell 1, upsell 2, right? And then we have one like for like this is another stack right here we have for another offer we did. And then we have the testimonials, which are right here on the right-hand side. And then we have the testimonials for Automatic Clients right here, which is put an image. If you want to learn how to use Figma, YouTube tutorials, you can learn in about 20 minutes. Very easy. And then we have, I don't know what's more swipes here. I don't even know what this is. Let's go look. Come on. Any day now, bro. Good old Mac. All right, it won't let me. Yeah, so this is another launch we did. So this was my team built this, and basically like this is like more modern light version of it, so you guys can use these. And the way you do it is like what you want to do is shit, where is that? Ashish, do you remember where did I send them that? What's that site where you get all these graphics? What was it like? No, it wasn't Placeit. It was the marketplace where you can buy all the graphics. Yeah, something Creative Market. Yeah. Okay, cool. So there's a thing called Creative Market here, right? Okay. So what you want to do, for example, say, you know, you're a Mr. Guru, right? And you want to have like a laptop or whatever, right? Like a cool laptop or whatever. You go to Creative Market and you just type in isometric. You search for isometric right here. Now this is way better, Bishal. You search for isometric. And so you can type in isometric laptop, right? And it's right here, right? I think these are the ones we use on Automatic Clients. So you can use these and put them on your little covers, right? It looks really good, right? So you just download these and you basically paste them in there and it basically said, so for example, you can just go, so I'll show you. So let's take this, you know, and you can just go double, like you right click it, you select it, whatever layer, you just delete it, you copy and paste it, you do the background setup, and pretty much you're set, right? Very easy. But the key here is to search for isometric graphics. That's what I put into isometric laptop, isometric, whatever, right? That's it in them. And yeah, so you use this file right here to do the graphics. Very easy. You don't have to pay anybody to do graphics. Takes 2 seconds, and you create these beautiful stacks, and these stacks can go into your ads, and they can go into your emails, and they can go into the page and everywhere else, right? So each one of these is the front end, these, and then this is the upsells, right? 1, 2, 3 upsells. So you guys can play with the colors or whatever, right? So you guys can have that, use it for whatever you like, wherever you want, don't really care. And then creative market is where you go. And these are what the offers look like. And then if we go here, we have first upsell. So let's look at it. And you guys can take this, it's copy and it's a hybrid, right? So typically, like if you have a female-based market, hybrids tend to work better than just forced VSLs tend to do well on males. And so this one is more of a market that's outcome-based, that knows what it's fully aware. So like, I'll give you all this stuff for agency people. They knew what they needed. Here's all the templates and everything, right? Let me pull up the automatic clients showcase. Let me see if I gotta find a link to that. Man, hold on. I gotta go into my Slack. Okay, cool. Yeah, this is the page right here. So you can see a little beefier right here. This is the stack we use right there. So we have the phone number, order by phone. You can use Telsio.com for the phone, very cheap, you know, whatever email. And so if you guys want this script, see this animated script right here, the way it's in secret email system, I will give it to you. And the video works with Vimeo, which is cheaper than Wistia. So you can do it. And so, yeah, this is it. And the biggest difference between this is that the graphics are a little cleaner. And then we have these testimonials here. And the testimonials are, testimonials here is, one of the nuances of testimonials that people mess up on these offers is they expect somebody to click the video, watch it like they're going to. They're not going to. They do not care, right? So what you want to do is you want to have a testimonials that acts like an image, but when they play it, it plays. You see what I mean? So it's like dual testimonials, very important. And so you have that so they can scan it and they see it, it'll register, and then they can go play it in order to you know, to do that, right? To get it, right? So these are all the testimonials. One of the tricks we used here is like designed to help you get customers and clients on, right? So if you have a weight loss offer, it can be like designed to help you lose weight if you go to Planet Fitness, Fitness Connection, Gold's Gym, Take all that stuff, right? This is borrowing credibility. The only system you'll ever need to acquire customer. So you can do the only system you'll ever need to lose weight, find a relationship, whatever. I don't, but we actually, the owner of Vitalytics and is Fast Forward. So, you know, he's one of us. So I highly recommend everybody uses Vitalytics. I hear very good things about it. I need to look into it. We'll probably end up using it for the NHB platform, right? So right here, like you have the book, you know, and all the benefits, what it tells you to do. And notice the isomorphic graphic right here, right? This is the isomorphic graphic. If you guys want my connection to the printer, Rich, I'll gladly make an introduction. He's a great printer. He can print your books, whatever you need. If you guys want help with these graphic, Ashish here, he does really good work. Ashish, if you want to drop some links of the funnels you built for people, they're really good. And then here's everything you get right here. And basically this demo is really important. That explains how things work, how it works. Like here, this demo explains the whole thing, how it works. You know, the profit model, et cetera, acquisition phase, profit phase, really important. A summary of all the testimonials, so they can just, instead of watching one by one, and you guys can copy this as well if you want, feel free. Let me give you the link to this. I actually have a password protected. I'll send it to you after the call. And basically here's like how I went from 5 years of failure to selling 12,300 books and building a 7-figure business by, this is basically, et cetera. This opening is a little different. This one punches a little harder. It goes, we can do something you can't. Like we're just like, you know, we start dribbling and dunking on them right out, right? It's not as soft. We can easily generate 300 more customers per day, profitable running ads, and then converted. What's more, these 300 customers generate. So you can do this, for example, you know, we can do something you can't. You know, we can help, you know, I can do something you couldn't do. I can help I help people lose 15 pounds in 5 days, whatever, right? I can do something that you couldn't do, et cetera, right? The bullets are a little improved from the previous one. Don't know what market to enter? Question mark, triple stack. You see that? Triple stack, right? One of the things here that we have is like we interspersed the testimonials here with an image. And you'll notice that we have a CTA box here on the right, right? And what happens is that if you're building it for mobile, you have to flick it 3 to 5 times and you should have a CTA, right? So 3 to 5 flicks, there's a CTA. So you'll notice that one right here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, it's mobile. It should pop up again. You see it right here again. So it goes left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. You don't want to have them scrolling all the way down, not being able to buy, right? So left, right, left, right, left, right. So you'll go down again. You see it right here. And then it goes again on the right and the left. And so it's very similar, and you guys can swipe. I don't care. Do whatever you want. And we have this little click here to play the testimonial. The structure of the copy is a little different. This one's very long. It's very long. It does convert better than the other one, I think, because it has a lot more ammo put in it, right? Put a lot more effort into this one. Somebody here asked me like why it's built like that, right? Why is this kind of like this Frankenstein? And so the answer to the Frankenstein question is basically that when I mastered copy, I was competing against people who didn't know what the hell copy was. And they were making like $500,000 to $800,000 a day running offers such as this. I'll show you. Funniest thing ever. Running offers that looked like, it was called Google Money Tree, right? It was literally like it was just like ridiculous. Like, if I can find it, basically it was like, it was this offer that was just basically like one page, right? It was just like, just the top part. It was just like thing and the price, and that was it, right? 2 pages of text. That was it. It was like 2 pages of text, right? If I can find it, it would be awesome. Let's see. Google Money Tree scam. Yeah, fuck, I don't think I can find it. I don't even know. Let's see if I can find this thing from way back when. It's so old, I might not be able to find it. But these are what like CPA offers look like. Actually, maybe OfferVault might have some right now. Let's look. See, make. Yeah, like basically they look like some ridiculous thing like this, like just basically like a video with a buy button on the right. It would just look like something dumb like this, right? And when my buddies in the CPA world, I have some friends are some of the biggest affiliates in the world, right? Bilal Assad is in Discord and the mastermind as well. He's one of the biggest affiliates in the world. They were pushing a ton of volume on this, and it was like, dude, these are converting at like 10, 15, 20%. And I was like, at the time I was like, drinking the copy Kool-Aid. And I go, we're getting like 3%, 2%. It's like, 50 pages of copy. And I'm like, what the fuck, right? I didn't believe him. I'm like, no way. No fucking way, dude. No way. And then it was like, fuck it, I'm gonna try it. So I started buying traffic to these type of offers, right? And sure enough, it's like the fucking thing converts like crazy. And I go, this is fucking weird, right? And so they convert really well. And then that's when I was like, basically like, okay. So I learned that lesson. We ran a lot of offers like that. And what I realized, what I started doing when I built this thing, I realized at the time there's people that have different converter channels and models, right? So for example, like some of you guys, if I say something to you, you automatically believe it. Who hears that? So for example, if I say like, you can run a marathon, you're like, fuck it, I can run a marathon. You just go believe it, right? Instantly, instant belief, right? That's called an automatic convincer model. You guys very easily convinced, right? So if I tell you something, you guys believe it, done, right? This is why direct response offers have 1 to 3% of the conversion rates, because those people that buy them are have mostly automatic convincer models, right? In copy. So copy works like VSL sales letter and stuff, largely because people watching it, 3% to 5% of people have the automatic convincer model and just believe whatever they're told, right? And then they question it afterwards. That's why the refund rates tend to go up, right? And with rest of it, so it's like there's like so you need time, frequency, and duration. That's how so let's go here, right? So convincer models work on basically, and we'll do a call on that. Like, so you have a convincer models, or you have time, frequency, duration, right? That's it. So for example, some of you, you know, you guys heard of that thing. It's like average customer needs like 7 points to convert. Yeah. So a men need 6 minutes to make a buying decision, 7 minutes to make a buying decision for women. Not for men. This is actually proven, right? So when you're selling to women, you need 27 minutes. Men need 6, right? And so knowing that there are different convincer models, the way humans are convinced, one way does not work on everybody, right? So for example, if you write a long form VSL, whatever, or long form letter, what happens is these 3 elements: time, duration, frequency, right? So for example, if, like, how many of you need to see or hear or feel or experience something? And so frequency, kind of like see it, hear it, feel it, experience it, see others, right? So for example, like if I have Vishal here, right? And he has to see something like 5 times to believe it, right? I'm like that. I need to see it like 3 times to believe it, right? And my first time, it's a bullshit. My automatic response is like, I don't believe you, right? That's my automatic response. I'm a very hard person to convert, right? And so, exactly, I read a lot of reviews as well, Vishal. So what happens is you have time, you have frequency, you have duration, and we'll do a separate call on this, teaching you how to tap into this and architect marketing for it, right? And so this is the notes I took. Oh, thank you, Chief Keefe, appreciate you. So this is my notes. Well, Daniel took the notes when I was speaking. So let's copy this. Can do this. Oh, what the fuck? Click the button, copy. Thank you, Daniel. Really appreciate you. There you go, Daniel. So basically, so, you know, time, how long do you have to see it, right? Like, how long do you have to see something? So for example, this is one of the reasons people want to attend webinars, because they need to see a 2-hour presentation on it, right? How many times do you have to see it? This is why a lot of times like follow-up will work, right? And this is then it, like you have a consistency, which is basically like a duration, right? So duration and consistency. How often do you have to see something consistently, right? So for example, I have a friend, he hires people, and somebody can be consistent for 6 months, and if they're inconsistent 3 times after 6 months, they're fired automatically. It's the weirdest thing, right? That's how he works. So like, as soon as that consistency, he notices that inconsistency pretty quickly, right? And so what happens is like, people largely buy in different ways, right? And so they have to spend time on it. How long do they have to see it? How many times do they have to see it? How often do you have to see it? And, you know, does an authority tell you good? You buy from one of these models. For me, it's seeing a few times, I'll make a question. In reality, people also consume information different ways, right? That's the other thing. So the way it works is whenever I talk, you guys don't process words, right? You don't process words when I talk. So what you guys might realize is that most of the population in America comprehends a 6th grade level, right? That means they process information at 6th grade level. So you have a 6th grader and you have a bunch of adults and you talk to them, information process the same way, same shit, right? And the way it happens is that when I talk to you and I use these words, you're forming images in the subconscious. And to the degree of how you can form these images, connect them, connect the dots, make sense of it, understand it, is your comprehension, right? So in order to get more people to convert, we have to increase the comprehension. See what I mean? Words are very limited. That's why copy is very limited. They're very limited, right? Because if I say something, all of you will interpret it differently. Like you have to deduce what that means. You know what I mean? Yes, video is superior, exactly. And so you know what they say. So here, basically, you know, an image is worth 1,000 words, but a video is worth 1,000,000 words, right? So that's the thing, right? Knowing this model of time, number, consistency, and authority is the last thing, right? Authority is like if somebody else tells you it's good, but we'll talk about pseudo testimonials and authority, right? The reason I designed it was using this model, right? And so I combined this thought with the awareness thought of what we were talking about in the beginning with a page to hit different convincer models, the way that people buy. And what we have is here, right? So for example, for people that have an automatic convincer model, right? We get them, we land them here, right? And they're automatically convinced, right? They see it, they watch the video, done. I don't need any more information. I'm good. The price is good. $3, $27, doesn't matter. I'm in, right? Then what happens is we have time and consistency. The more they scroll down, the more time they spend on the page, right? And so right here we go, and now it's like basically they're looking at it, right? And then as they scroll down, see what I'm doing? Let's see, move this over here. What I'm doing here is that we're time, number, and consistency, right? So it's just basically, you know, a lot of this stuff can be also, it was also used in infomercial. If you look at infomercial, it's a 28-minute show, and you just have like a bunch of 3-minute shows repeated in different words. You see what I mean? Same, it says the same shit, just different words, right? And so what happens here is like, we basically just have repetition taking place that they're not aware of, but it satisfies this need for consistency and repetition and time duration. They spend more time on it, right? And they also see other people, who else, etc., whatever, right? So that's how the convincer model works. Any questions on that? So this is why I talk about messaging instead of anything else, because when it comes to messaging, then you can pack this into different messaging, right? So, you know, you use that. That's why it's designed like that, right? And so the people that need that full detail, they'll go into the copy. People that are in convincer models are here, and then people that just need to know what they get and the value is good, it's here and what this is about. Yes, Daniel.
Yeah, so Anuj was bringing up a point to me that I thought about is like, so, you know, on my page, it's like it's hitting different convincer models, but then if I try and send them to an affiliate, it doesn't really hit. And do you think that part of the reason is because they're trying to sell one specific model and I'm sending people to that page who was sold with multiple different models?
Yeah, that's a great question. So what happens with affiliates, this is one of the reasons, you know, affiliates tend to, so for example, if you have this guy, that guy, and this guy, and that guy, right? They're all promoting affiliates, right? They will mail each other's offers. And if they're all using the same format, such as a VSL, then those leads respond to that convincer model, right? More so than anything. And then anything outside of that convincer model doesn't really convert. So when they take, this is one of the reasons, like a lot of guys on ClickBank cannot take their offers to cold traffic because they're missing this convincer model. It's just one of them, which is basically VSL, this, which gets only 3%. You see what I mean? And so this is why these converted like 10 to 15% or whatever, whereas VSL's converted, you know, 2 to 3%. More, you open the pipe, right? But also you're not blocking the time. You're not putting this like, you know, you're not putting like 30 minutes between them and they can buy. Like you're not putting an obstacle of time. One of the biggest things, by the way, when it comes to selling, that prevents sale from taking place. Let me write this in the notes here. One of the biggest things that prevents the sale from taking place is the obstacle of time, right? Because the way people, damn it, perceived time is different. Everybody has a different perception of time. So for example, low emotional state people, time goes faster. High emotional state people, time goes slower, right? So low emotional, time goes faster. High emotional, time goes slower, right? This is why they will watch a 50-minute VSL, because it goes by fast, right? And high emotional state, time goes slower. So then that 50-minute VSL might feel like 3 hours, you know? And that's the thing, right? And so what happens is, like, when you control this time, when you try to control that time aspect of convincer models, you are really affecting their ability to buy, right? And this is the thing with VSLs. They put this, it's like, imagine like it's a pool of syrup and you're trying to like swim. It's like sludge, you know, you can't get, it's very hard. It's like, you know, and so what happens is, in that case, people that need that, and then the automatic convincer channel, that's why it converts, you know, for 2 to 3%. And people go, you know, yes, it's great. But what happens is we leverage small numbers to make it work. And that's a mistake, because remember, the whole thing is about getting relationships and creating awareness so you can sell them other stuff, because money is not made on the first product, right? In fact, I'm gonna do a call to talk about scaling in the negative space. It's all in the time to come, in a year or two, 3 years. It'll be who can break even, or rather who can lose money better on the front end, right? Who can lose money better on the front. If you look at every single industry out there that has a lot of participants in it, eventually what'll happen is, you know, somebody will be like, you know, if you have 10,000 companies, right? One company go, if they're all trying to break even, and one company go, well, fuck it, I'll go lose money on the front end. I'll get the customers. I'll win, right? I'll give you an example, right? Would you guys like an example how this works? So what happens here is like, let's say you have, you have a profit on front end, you have break even on front end, and you have lose money on front end, right? Okay, so at profit on front end, say, you know, you might be getting, say, 50 customers a day, right? At break even, you might be, let's say you punch it up to, let's say, 80 customers a day. If you lose money in the front end, you can go, you can go 5,000 a day if you want, as many as you want. You see what I mean? The thing though, in this component here, the only question is how long does it take you to get it back, right? And so when it comes to this model right here, where this is going to be every single market, I guarantee you, like if you go to the 7-day fast start, I created that like 3 years ago, right? 3 years ago, I recorded a 7-day fast start. You'll hear me talking about stuff and everything came true. Every single thing, webinars going to shit, attendance at webinars, every single thing came true. 8 months ago, I was talking about like copywriting isn't going to be enough to compete. You can go in the Facebook group, you can look at it. And what happened? It came true. I just been through the cycle. You know, I'm not a prophet. I've just been through it. I know what's going to happen. This is what's going to take place right here. So if you can go negative, you get as many as you want. When you start thinking about relationship and awareness, then you can easily flip that into money. You will never lose money, right? So for the Nothing Held Back platform, it's free. We're going to run it for free using this strategy exactly, right? So this is how it works, right? This is the future, right? And so what's going to happen here, it's like everybody wants to be here. Like, so let me add, let's add a little to the right, insert column to the right. You know, I would say something like, I would probably say like 80% market wants to be here, right? This is every single person. And this is where, like, you know, your opportunity as CMO, copywriter, CMO comes, because there's a lot of, everybody wants to be there, right? Everybody's scared of breaking even, right? You'll have about, oh shit, that's generous. Let's say 90. You'll have about 9% of the market wants to be here, break even, right? And you have 1% of the market wants to be here, right? This is it. That's how it works, right? This is why long term, you always have two dominant companies emerge, right? Let's think about two dominant companies, shall we? BMW, Mercedes, Apple, Microsoft, Google, Facebook for advertising, right? Chevy, Ford, Apple, Samsung. In the TV category, you have Samsung, LG, right? Thank you, Carlos. Coca-Cola, Pepsi, help me. Who else? What else we have? Wake up, guys. Let's go. This is exciting shit. You are asleep. You're sleeping on that hustle, man. McDonald's, Burger King, not KFC. I wouldn't have that combo of the KFC. McDonald's, Burger King, yeah. KFC, Popeyes, that's a good one. Right? Ronaldo, Messi, fair enough. They're a business as well. Tupac, Biggie, right? Jay-Z, everyone else. Right. This is what happens, right? You always have two emerge, right? And then what happens out of these two is they become the biggest in the world and create some of the world's richest people in them, right? So if you look at the richest people, this is what happened. And it all starts with this, where one person out of there goes, fuck it, we'll just lose money. We'll figure it out later, right? This actually got started with Rockefeller, right? When Rockefeller was running around, they had this model where they were like, you know, drilling for oil and taking money out. And when they were taking money out, they were losing their ability to acquire other companies and grow. And so he created a dividend model and was like, you know what, we're just going to have dividends, and we're not going to take salary as they've forgone salary. And so that's why, you know, you have different taxes on dividends and shit like that because they influence the lobby, right? And so they did it. But basically this happens, lose money in the front end. And out of this, you have two emerge, and out of the emergence of the two, you have dominance come out, right? And so always like that in a long time. This is what's going to happen, right? And what happens is the rest, like basically these guys right here, then this is what happens after that. So if you go column on the right, they basically will make like 80% of the profits. Here, these guys will make like 15% of the profits, and then these guys will fight over for the left of the profits. You guys know the famous Jack Welch thing. It's like we're either number one or number two. We're not in the market, right? This is what happens, right? This is what happens, right? And so knowing what's going to happen is the key to winning, right? Because if you know what's going to happen, then we get to learn, we get to do marketing, we train ourselves, we lift some weights, you know, with the brain, we get good at this stuff. And then when it comes time to break even, we can break even. And when it comes to losing money, we lose money, but we don't really lose money. We just give it to them temporarily, right? For like a week or two, right? And then this is what happens, right? And this is really good because this model right here spits out a lot of people. This is why you see a lot of gurus like leaving the market, right? Leaving the market. So you see, like, you know, for example, you know, a lot of famous gurus who were once, you know, quote unquote household names in this space tapping out because they don't know this. They're like, I don't want to break even. I don't fucking break even. Fuck that shit. I want money. I want profits. I got bills to pay, right? Where me, I'm like, let's put $1 million into a platform and give it away for free. You know, it's like, how do you compete with that shit? It's like, you know, it's like, I don't care about making money from it. I don't give a fuck, whatever, you know, we'll make money on it later. It doesn't matter. So, and then out of this, you have a mission, vision, hierarchy of visions, right? We'll do a call out of that later. Isaac, you have a question, sir?
Real quick, my dude, what are you doing to figure out like the LTV? So like scaling into the negative, like
Yes.
that's been piquing my curiosity for a long time.
Yeah.
I'm not the best with math, so I'm trying to figure out how to bridge that gap.
Yeah, easy.
Is it more just studying more economics or?
No, there's a post in the Nothing Held Back group, one of my oldest posts. It's called MLTV, which stands for maximum. Damn it. Let's see. Maximum. Anuj, I'll get you 1 second. Sorry, bro. Maximum lifetime value. Maximum lifetime value, right? And so what happened? I did this in the first call for an HV Plus, but they can only give you as much money as you have something to sell, right? Because what is money, right? It's an exchange medium, isn't it? It's an exchange medium. So as long as you have something for them to exchange it for something else, what happens is they'll give you stuff, right? So since money is an exchange medium, you create something they can exchange money for. So basically maximum lifetime value. So your ceiling is how much your LTV, your ceiling is directly correlated to the MLTV, right? So everybody here, we have a product, service, whatever, should have about 100,000 bare minimum to $1 million. Meaning if somebody comes to you tomorrow and say, hey, Isaac, I want to buy everything you got. How much? It should be 100 grand minimum. Here's a check for 100 grand. If you don't, you're not doing it, right? Once you have that MLTV, you extrapolate a timeline of 12 months, then you create sales cycle, relationship cycle from what we talked about last Friday and fast forward, you see?
Yeah.
And then you just go through that cycle and then money comes. Like you create a very predictable machine. Then what happens is you can lose money in the front end, feed it. So it'll go like this and pop up back into the positive, right?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So so this I was trying to do the numbers yesterday. So one of the brands I'm working with, we're now transitioning to more subscription. So we're like, fuck, do we just use the subscription numbers or we use just one-time purchase numbers?
No, subscription numbers should be extrapolated to like the average subscription. So for example, there is no such a thing as a subscription, right? It's only like how long they'll stay. So for example, every industry has an average, like internet marketing industry has a 3-month average, right? So
yeah,
in that 3-month average, unless you follow a subscription with 1% of Social Security income, you know about that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that case, it's like if you have a average stick rate of say 3 months or 5 months, then you should do everything in your power to get 3, 4, 5 months out of them upfront, promos, emails, whatever, right? Because rule of thumb is money today is worth, okay. I had Z hit me up and he was like, should I take this deal, whatever? And I was like, fuck yeah, you should take. One of the rules I told Kevin They mean him like every dollar that comes, you fucking take it or take it. Because what happens is like with money, once you stop taking it, it stops coming. You have to take it, right? Money today is far more worth tomorrow because money today can be used to get more money tomorrow, right? So if you can sell them that subscription of 5 months, then you can use that into ad spend to get more 5 months. You create an upward spiral, right?
Yeah.
So that work. And so, yeah, so you have that. So for example, if your stick rate's 5 months, then let's do a promo and get 4 months out of them, which factors in MLTV. Then what else can you sell them? What else can you sell them? What else can you sell them? The real way to do subscription, in my opinion, is you want to know the secret of subscription?
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yes.
They subscribe to you so you can sell them other stuff. They pay you to sell them other stuff. This is how, this is how Agora and all these guys do it. They basically, you go buy a newsletter, it's $1,000, and then what you basically do is pay postage, stamps, and a bunch of copywriters to sell you other shit. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I have nothing held back and it's $100 a month, right? The stupid thing to do would be for me to take it and spend it. The smart thing to do was like, you give me $100 a month, right? And then I use that money to send you 4 direct mail pieces, 17 ads on Facebook and email, whatever, to get more money out of you. Because I can get a lot more than 100. Now I can get like 2,000 out of you because you pay me for it. You're feeding,
Yeah.
you're financing your own marketing for me to sell you shit. That's how you do subscription. That's like the real secret of subscription. Like the dumb ones, like take their money on, like this is part of LTV, da, da, da. Don't do that. They pay you to market to them, to sell them more shit. That's how it's
Fuck.
done. Yeah. So, yeah. So nothing into our agency, we had a $10 subscription. That was that. Yeah, exactly. Well, the $10 subscription was so we can put an environment so we can sell them stuff, right? So I'll talk about it in a second. And so this is what happens. Like they basically pay you a subscription, and then the question is like how many can come, and then from there you can use that aggregate to get more copywriters, marketers, designers, create more value, sell them all shit, and everything just creates up, right? So, so this is what happens. Here's the automatic clients upsells. These are the ones that have automatic clients. They're different than to our agency. And I covered these in the upsell call. I'm not going to cover them now, but you guys have access to them. So I'll give you a link right here. You guys can use these in the offers as well. These tend to work a little better. Now, one nuance is that with this copy right here, this is BizOp copy, right? This is BizOp copy. When I see people use this funnel thing on health supplements and other things, as is, it doesn't really translate as well. It has to be modified in language to reflect those other markets, right? If you look at these offers, for example, then where is it? Feminine frequencies. Hold on. Let's just find it. Just go. If you look at these other offers, for example, like the guitar one, right? What the hell is it? Yeah, guitar one right here, right? It doesn't really sell opportunity. It has to sell outcome and experience, right? So if it's non-biz op, so let's put that into the notes for you guys. Where's the notes? Where are the notes? Then the thing itself, right? Had Daniel come to me yesterday to do a review on his upsell. And one of the things, let me see, where's my notes? Hold on. We'll do a call on upgraded upsells soon. But I'll do these little things where it's like, I'll do upgrade calls, where it's like the new stuff that's discovered upsells. So it'll be like upgrade calls, it'll be really good. But basically there was this right now problem versus later problem, right? People do not buy later problems, right? They buy right now problems, right? Daniel's upsell had a later problem, right? So for example, it was like, she'll fall in love. It's all about falling in love. But if they don't have somebody to fall in love with, then that's a later problem, right? That's a big thing. And so when it comes to upsells, make sure there's congruency. But also the front end has to sell more outcome experience than the thing itself, right? So with Daniel's offer, because it is not BizOp, his stuff was like, and here's what you get, a course, this. They don't care about what they get. They just care about what it does for them. right? So they don't care about what they get. They care about what it does for them, right? Does for them. So it doesn't matter if it's like a course. It doesn't matter if it's a course. It doesn't matter if it's a book. It doesn't matter if it's whatever. They just want the outcome, just the outcome. They care what it does for them, right? So non-biz op market, you should have this plus how the deliverable of stuff. Non-biz op market should be more outcome and experience of where they're going to go, right? Because if you put the stuff they get, like you get a book, you get a course, you get this, what happens is you snap them out of their trance and they start judging the value based on the thing itself versus the outcome. You remove the focus from the outcome. You see what I mean? Anuj, do you have a question?
Yeah, this one's like a little bit back. It's going back to convincer models. Is
Yes.
this the reason why offers that sort of crush on JV don't work well on cold?
Yes.
Because they're mainly focusing on one type.
Yes, exactly. And different ecosystems work differently, right? So for example, like if you look at Facebook timeline is top down, right? So if you look at automatic clients, it's top down. So if you're going from this environment, right, from Facebook into automatic clients, you're scrolling down Facebook, then you step into the offer and you're scrolling down, right? If you have Facebook and then you step into a BSL, it's very different. You know, if you're on YouTube and then you step into the scrolling, it's very different. So yes, that's the answer. Yeah. That's why JV offers, like, they only get this one narrow band of people, right? The biggest, I posted this yesterday about conversion time windows. Was it yesterday? Maybe, I don't know, in the Nothing Held Back group. And what happens is, like, whenever you narrow people down, right, you broaden the people that cost you money, right? So whenever you narrow down, you broaden your losses, right? And so what happens as you scale, this broadness, is that a word, broadness, or is it a different word? This broadness of people that don't give you money increases. So more and more people increase that don't give you money, which means your cost goes up, right? So this is why it's harder to scale a lot of these offers. This is why you see very few companies in our space, making a lot of money, right? It's typically associated with some phone, some boiler room phone selling some shit. You know what I mean? Yeah, I got to use a restroom, guys. I'll be back in 1 second. You guys chat amongst yourselves. Sorry, I've been like drinking water. I'll be back.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask a question. Maybe you guys can help me with this. Because I'm trying to understand, I remember on the upsells call, Alan talked about the importance of timelines, where basically every upsell is like a timeline, the next phase in their timeline. But here he just mentioned how it's like, you're not trying to solve later problems, you're trying to solve current problems. So how do you all think that all connects together? I'm just a little bit stumped on that. Because in my mind, it's like you're technically selling them the next problem, but they don't have that problem because they haven't solved their original problem of the product they just bought.
Can you say that again?
Yeah, I'm trying to because one of the things Alan just said right now was that it's like people don't buy the solution to later problems, right? Which always, for the front end, you want to always basically go after the burning desire problem. But one of the things in the upsell call that Alan talked about, this was a few weeks ago, I was watching the recording, was about how he structures upsells with timelines. So for each kind of upsell, it's like the next problem they're dealing with, but at the same time, then that's solving a later problem. Because, oh, hey, Alan, maybe you can answer.
What's up?
I'm trying to just understand your point here on right now problems versus later problems, because in your upsell training, you talked about the importance of structuring your upsells with timelines, right? And so what I'm trying to understand here is that in your upsell, it's like, let's say for upsell number 1 or upsell number 2, you're solving the next problem, but theoretically they haven't solved their original problem, so that's now a later problem. Am I thinking about that wrong, or?
No. Almost there. What happens is, like, people don't buy things that they need later, because when it comes to thinking about competing on economics, it's all about trade-offs. And so, for example, if if you have $1,000, right? And so, you know, and that's all you have right now. And next week, you're going to have 1,000 more from your paycheck. What are you going to spend $1,000 on? What you want or need to solve right now, not what you need to solve and need in 3 months, right? So for example, I need to do my oil, change my car oil or my car tires. I can keep them for 3 months. Not that important right now, right? However, I got to put gas in it in order to go. So I got to go spend money on gas, right? So what happens in the upsell thing, and we'll do these upgrade calls, because one of the things I do is like, I'll go deeper into levels. And I think the upgrade calls need to be there, kind of like, hey, let's revisit upsells. Let's upgrade it, upsells, upgrade things. It's a good thing, right? So if you go to upsells, one of the most potent way to think of upsells is like right now problem versus later problem, right? And so it's like, is this problem right now? And if it isn't right now, then make it right now in your copy. And that's what I did.
Got
So
it.
it's like, you're gonna get the secrets, this, you're gonna build a site. So it's like, now shit, it's like, I need this right now, right? The closer you can get that problem to right now, exactly that fucking Zell. That Zell, that's for tomorrow's column, fast forward. But in essence, there's a process for turning wants into needs, right? People don't buy wants, people buy needs. And what happens is wants are something that's in the future, needs are right now. That's how I think about it, right? So right now problems, right now needs, wants are later. You see what I mean? So you start thinking about like that, and that increases the potency of your upsell quite a bit, you know? Because think about it, like what gets priority of spending in your life? What you need right now, right? So make them need it right now. Make him want it right. And you can do, you know, things like taking it away from them later. You know, and so if you look at a lot of the supplement upsell copy, you know, the trickery of that is like, you know, oh, you know, supply chain issues, you know, we won't have any later. So buy 1,700 bottles today. That's what it does. That it just does it from the other side, you know?
Got it. It's all about just kind of interweaving the story into there in the copy as to why it's now a problem.
Pretty good, isn't it though? That's some deep shit, man. That changes
Right.
there a lot, dude. Right now, price, it's a big thing.
Yeah, 100%. Thanks so much. And if I know other people have questions, I wanted to know, are you?
You can ask
just
as many
about the-
questions as you want, man. That's what I'm here for. Don't be shy. I love when you ask
Appreciate
questions, dude. I love when you and everybody else questions. It's like, I'm like, ask you fuckers. More the better, you know?
I appreciate it. I feel like I'm really damn good at getting buyers in the door. I'm terrible at ascension. What would you say is like the best no-brainer ascension process, whether that's to a
Yeah,
high
that's
ticket offer or a membership? And second follow-up is based on, you're talking about comparative or collaborative and competitive pricing. Would you say it's even better to just go with like the lower priced membership model as like an easier ascension process versus going direct to high ticket? Or what's your thought on that?
Neither. That's not the thought. Again, this is
Okay.
one of the things that's in the problem you have. Ascension is all about awareness. Ascension is all about awareness, right? So when you're, you know, when you walk somewhere, you walk where you can see. You don't go walk in the dark, right? When you drive somewhere, you drive on lit roads. You don't go off the beaten path where there's no lights. You don't know where you're going, right? So the more aware you can make them, the more they know where to go, right? And so the essence is to shine a light in front of them. And what happens is they will automatically take the step where their light is. What most people try to do is get behind them, try to kick them to take that step into the dark, and they push back. Like, what the fuck are you doing, right? You shine the light in front of them, and they automatically follow that path. It's like you know that, like, you put a crumb in front for crumbs, you just shine a light in front of them. You just go like this. They follow the path. That's all they do. You just shine a light, and this light is awareness, right? And they just follow the path. So the ascension is all about awareness, where they can see it, right? And then what you can do is you can, just like you can shine a light on certain things to walk, you can put darkness into other areas where you don't want them to go. So you can do that too. You can put darkness in them. That's dark lord tactics, right? So that's the thing about the awareness. And then as far as the pricing goes, whatever, the only thing that matters is that participation, that engagement, that experience, whatever, where they will start to listen to you. If they don't listen, they will not consume anything, right? And so a lot of marketers try to talk at them, but not with them, right? That's why you have to argue with them, not against them, right? So you have to know their biases, beliefs, and everything, et cetera. So if you study, I talk a lot about this in Fast Forward, but it's like if you study religion conversion models, right? Like, how is it that somebody can take somebody that believed something for, say, you know, like, you know, for example, let's say, you know, you have somebody knock on the door and it's like, hey, what are you? I'm such and such religion. And it's an old grandma. She's like 80 and, you know, she's got like 10 years, maybe 5 years to live and she's going to die and go to heaven. Right. And this person convinces this grandma to go to the other side. Like how? Right. And one of the ways they do that is like, they don't start by saying, hey, we're different and trying to destroy their religion. You don't do that. Right. What they do is say, well, we have this in common. Our religions have this in common. Our religions have this in common. We have this in common. We have this in common. Very similar. And so it goes, we're just alike here. So it goes like the first step is like basically we're just alike, right? And then the second step is we have this in common. The third level is we're similar in this regard. 4, here's why we're different yet better on that level, right? Yeah, cults do something similar. I have a cult here in Charlotte. If you guys want to join, you guys can come, you know. We sacrifice some goats and drink beer. I'm just kidding. But here's the process right there in the chat, right? So we're just alike, you know. We're marketers. We do this, we do this, we drink. So for example, like, you know, we drink beer. We drink beer together, right? After the goat. And we drink beer together and we like to hang out at the brewery together. So comment, right? We're similar in this regard. We're talking about brewery. Here's why we're different, you know. I like IPA beers and you like whatever. Here's why IPA is better. You see, you do this. That's what religion does. That's how religion converts. It's fascinating. If you want to study like the greatest conversion, like you think we're good at marketing. We ain't shit compared to those guys, dude. It's fucking amazing. Like, especially like Mormons, dude, like they go like when they're 19, they're like sent a mission. They're like, here, drop off in a city somewhere else. Here's a bike. Here's a white shirt. Go knock on doors for 2 years. Really fucking awesome, right? Like, so that's the thing, right? And so what happens is when you build a relationship, when you get the awareness, you take them through this process. We're just alike. Why do you think I say I mastered copywriting in 2014? Because there's a lot of copywriters here. We're just alike. You see that?
Okay.
You know, we're just alike. You know, then I did this and it's better. You know, and then I say, for example, master copywriting didn't get me what I wanted, which is true. And anybody that's done it is, you know, nothing wrong with it. I think everybody should. I love copy, right? It's good. But that's just that we're just alike. Move over here, you know? That's how that works.
Got it. Thank you.
Archer, whoever had their hand first, I don't know, just go.
Yeah.
What's up?
Yeah,
dude?
this kind of piggybacks on Zach's question and what I asked earlier in the call is that like I'm looking to do a higher ticket offer on the back end. However, in the front end, I'm looking at doing a subscription model for a BizOp mastermind. I'm curious to know what your thoughts are on in today's world, like what's a good price point for that?
For a mastermind?
Yeah, BizOp.
What BizOp? Like, is it like, okay, I'll tell you a little secret, right, about BizOp that most people don't know, that most people want to blow their fucking brains out afterwards, right? And once I tell you this, you're going to be like, I don't know if I want to do BizOp, right?
Mm-hmm.
The newer the audience, the more accountable they hold you. The newer the audience, the less experience they have, the less they know, the more accountable they hold. Because they're like children, like they don't know how to walk, they don't know how to eat. You have to hold them, you have to feed them, you have to protect them, you have to do all sorts of stuff, right? The more accountable they hold you, right? This is where tension, stress, and all sorts of stuff comes out of, right? I was talking to one of the guys in this industry. I'm not gonna mention his, but like they were partners and they ran a very big company that made funnels and taught traffic. And I asked him, he's like, dude, I had this like 7-figure mastermind and it's like, I shut it down. I was like, why? It's like, I didn't have any stress. I was like, he's like, they had my number and it's like, they were calling me all the time, asking me for stuff. It's, I just shut it down. I couldn't take it. And I go, okay. At the time I was like, whatever, didn't care. But now I'm like, okay, the newer they are, the more accountable they hold you. So when you're building a mastermind, again, this is not the question, but this is what happens. You got to figure out, can you price in that accountability and what do you include in that? Because a lot of them, it's not so much the how-to, but it's also the motivation, the inspiration, then the how-to, right? That's part of the deal. That's what they really need to keep going. And so, you know, that's what happens. And then as price goes, it's just 10% of their annual income. It's simple. So it's like if they make 50K a year, then you can get 5K, you know.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I have one more question on that too, is
Sure.
I asked this in the group before, you said it has everything to do with timing. So there's this I forgot his name. I think his name is Carlos. I'm not sure. Anyways, he holds a low ticket offer. It's called Wizards of Ecom. And he has like 28,000 students paying him $35 a month, which comes out to be about $1 million a month.
Yep.
And I'm curious to see like, and basically it's a Rolodex of videos teaching people how to sell on Amazon. So obviously they have the conglomerate Amazon to piggy off of, right?
Yep.
Which you talked to about in the past.
Mhm.
But what they also have is they have all these other guys who are selling high ticket offers, how to sell on Amazon for 5, 10 plus thousand a month, where he comes in at $35 a month with
Yeah.
like just a huge Rolodex of videos, right? So it's like a different angle. Like,
Yeah.
what's your viewpoint on that kind of model?
I think it's really great. And there's a lot of things you're not seeing there that make it work. And then if you try to copy it, it's going to not work. And one of the things you're not seeing is that one, the awareness is being built. The second thing is that the world is a lot bigger than America, right? So I have a very big team, and a good portion of that team is outside of America. And, I one of the things I do for my team is I educate them a lot. So I will buy them any single course they want to buy. And like every week I get requests. Can you buy me this course? Can you buy me that course? Can you buy me that course? And if you are in, say, Philippines, Thailand, or any other country, and you go to udemy.com, a course will be $15, $20. If you're in America, the same course is $120, right? Big difference. And so a lot of that weight is international traffic that cannot afford that high ticket stuff. So, a lot of the demand out there for that sort of stuff, marketing, learning, marketing, et cetera, it's international. Because one of the only ways these people internationally have any hope of making any type of money is through the internet. Their geographic area does not have the resources to pay them, right? So for example, like if you're in the Philippines and you want to go make $100,000 a month, it's going to be very difficult. Like unless you're like, corrupt politician or some shit over there, right? Very difficult. However, if you're in the Philippines and you run an offer, you can still make $100,000 a month. It does not prevent you. Now, when you think about the scope of the world, you have South America, you have 400 million people. You have India, you have like 900 million people. You have, Southeast Asia has like 400 million, whatever. You have to think about Philippines, you think about all these countries, right? Eastern Europe and stuff. Now the population is big, and the 28,000 doesn't seem like much, and that's what he did basically. And a lot of those people, their entry point into that world is YouTube and tutorial sites and stuff like that.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
So most people, what they'll do is they'll be like, that model, boom, a lot of people, American market fail. Doesn't work without knowing this.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And by the way, I like what you were saying before about loving your competition.
Yeah.
Because you made a post about this in a group before, and there's self-source and there's other source out there.
Yeah.
And the mastermind I'm looking to drop, there's a lot of self-source who are teaching this. They're very good at selling themselves and getting people to buy their stuff. But once these people join their program, they find out real quick what they're really in it for, right?
Well, that's most of the fucking industry. Well, that's the most of this industry anyway, right? Because this industry by large attracts people who want to make money, right? If you want to make a bunch of money, then by default you don't have money. So which tells you the only outcome they want is money. So the means to the money doesn't matter except the money. And so what happens is, they don't want to be held accountable. Like, so right now where the market is, I'll do a call for you guys on like evolution of markets I talked about earlier, but the second to last part of the market is accountability, right? And accountability, this where it's at now. So it's like if you can be accountable, you'll do very well. And if you don't want to be accountable, it's done. So the market is going into accountability stage, like all markets are pretty much. And so a lot of these guys are like, the customers are like, I'm not getting results. And they're like, you can only say so many times, like, you fucked up. It's, it's not, it's something wrong with you, It's, shift the blame. So for example, when Apple comes up with that, we used to come up with this and, some shit didn't work. They were like, you stupid ass, it's like, it's your fault. You don't have to use the iPhone, stupid. Cause you don't see that shit happening. You don't see like, a car company make a car. It's like dumb customers don't know how to drive, no, it's like, let's change the product so they can drive. Let's change the product so it can be used. Let's make it better. So it's, in this world, it's like a lot of the blame goes on the customer. It's never the product, it's always the customer's fault. So that's the thing. large portion of that market has that, and that's fine, but it's like, that's the big change happening now, right? And so you'll see these guys out there. And it's funny, I had this thing where it's like the way you can tell, I told this to somebody, it's like the way you can tell a market change is you see the claims, the promises, what was it? The claims, the promises, and the guarantees change, right? So the guarantees now is like, $30,000 or your money back. And next 6 months, it'll be like, $30,000 and I'll give you my kidney, something like that. So it's like, or your money back, or this, or you don't pay, you'll see it like, because they don't know what to do. So they're just like, let's just increase, right? This is the same thing with like, companies making phones. Like, you just put a bigger camera in there, bigger battery. We don't know how to make the experience better. Just put more shit in there, More features and stuff isn't it. More claims isn't the solution, because ultimately they just want the results. More claims is not going to get them the results. So they're completely going where the opposite of the market is. See what I mean?
Yeah, that makes total sense. I mean, that's why and how we can capitalize on this. And you mentioned it quite a bit earlier in there. Was seeing where the market is and knowing where the future is going. And it goes across all markets too, right? So
Yeah.
it's
Well,
capitalizing on it. So yeah.
Well, the thing about that's interesting thing about that is like you have to think about a long term, right? So it's like, what will humans need? Like, okay, so how do you take a macroeconomic view and you say, what do humans need? They need money. Okay. Is internet going anywhere? No. Okay. No. Is e-commerce going to be there? Yes. Is was e-commerce there for the 10, 15 years? Yes. Will it be there next 5 years? Yes. Will it be 10 years? Yes. So it's like you have a lot of growth, right? You have a lot of growth. And so, you can build a business that you can continually build, because that want, need, desire, it's going to be there as long as you can. So for me, with nothing held back, it's like, I know it can be there for 10, 20 years if I want it, right? So there's a lot of durability in it because the demand's going to be there long term, right? The whole world wants to do this. And that's why I keep telling you guys, like, learn this shit, go make as much money as you can, because every fucking day there's 10,000 people out here coming to this thing wanting to do what you're doing. 10,000 people. And there's no, it's not like here in Charlotte where it's like, hey, you want a house, you got to pay $1 million. It's like, here's a website, free, right? Anybody can stake land and it's unlimited, right? So you have 10,000 people coming in every single day. They want to do this. And like, there's a great book I have over there. It's actually somewhere else, called Time Wars. Like Time Wars, right? I'll send a link right here. I'll find it for you guys. Very old book, right? And basically like the Time Wars book talks about, it's right here's a link in the chat, and it talks about how the primary conflict in history is time, right? And so everything you're doing is time, right? And so the rich use money to get more time from the poor. So when you start thinking about time, you kind of get a different competitive advantage. Really good book, you guys should read it. Very old, 1988. And so, yeah, a lot of opportunity. So you definitely should do it. Aiden, what's up, dude?
Hey, Matt. You spoke about the losing money on the front end. My
Yeah.
question is, what is the idea behind it? It's to bring a free product.
No, because you have a supply and demand, right? And the way the algorithm works is like you have a limited amount of customers in the world, right? The internet is not growing anymore, right? So, in 94, the internet was going 300% a day or something, it's not growing anymore. Internet is not growing, right? But because internet's not growing, this side of the user base, I call them civilians, is not growing. These civilians are becoming entrepreneurs, right? These guys are becoming us. When they're becoming us, this side goes up, and then more of these guys, us, are competing for them. Since Facebook has an algorithm and can only hold so many ads at any given point in time, hence the book Time Wars, right?
Yeah.
Then it's like whoever will pay more for that ad will get exposure to the customer, get the customer. And then what ends up happening, the whole process, somebody goes, fuck it, I'll lose money because I know I'll make it later. I have better economics, better processes, better system, better product, whatever, right? And then what ends up happening is somebody else comes, I'll go lose money. And then the one that can lose the most money gets the most customers. So any media buyer can tell you, like, if you want to lose money, you can get 10, 20, 100, fuck. If you had somebody, for example, like Jeff Bezos come and says, here's $1 billion, right? And you ran an offer, you can literally get 1,000 customers an hour if you wanted to. You lose money on them, but you can get 1,000 customers an hour. You know, you might go negative like a shit ton of money, but you can get 1,000 customers an hour, right? And then work to flip it. And this is one of the reasons, like big companies, the scale, they need outside money. They need outside energy to be put in through the public, through VCs, through whatever, right? We don't have outside money. So we have to create our own outside money, which is the customer. We take customers and turn them into outside money through the old secret hidden economics to fund our own acquisition in the negative space to grow. That's why.
Interesting.
And then what happens is when you acquire all the customers in the market, then you can control the narrative of the market, and you can control the awareness. You can control the awareness. You can influence the market a lot.
So basically, when you are able to lose money and you let yourself lose the money, so you acquire more customers because you market yourself to more people.
Yeah. Because
Yeah.
humans are a renewable financial resource, right? So for example, when Uber got me, can't even remember when Uber got me as a customer, you know, I've been with Uber for many years, and like maybe whatever it cost to get me, maybe they lost that money a year and a half, and afterwards all profit, right?
Yeah.
That's how it works. And so Uber's going to keep me for the next 10, 15 years. And sure enough, Uber makes 100% profit on me, right? That's how it works.
Gotcha.
That's the game of the future, my man. Angela, what's up?
Crazy. Thank you.
Hey, Alan, could I jump in and ask a quick question?
Sure.
That'd be appreciated. So I'm just curious, and first of all great stuff, and I clearly get the value of low ticket. I'm just curious what your thoughts are on potential limitations, meaning if you're trying to ultimately target a certain level, if that's the right word, of customer in the marketplace, you know, somebody that's, let's take for already successful, already running a big business, possibly time is their number one, most likely, or possibly biggest constraint, higher up in the market chain. Do you think that low ticket at some point may not be the appropriate approach?
No, it's not that. What happens, like all markets end up at lead gen markets, right? If you look at the maturity of markets, once economics are set up, what happens is you go from high price to lower to lead gen, right? Every single one. So if you look at the industries with the best economics, like lifetime economics, healthcare, mortgages, car insurance, health insurance, whatever, right?
Yep.
They're all end up being at lead gen. And the way you can tell lead gen is you have aggregator website like cars.com, car gurus, like one of these, like, you know, things like that, right? Our whole lead gen industry is built. So as far as timelines go, the faster you can go up the timeline to become lead gen, the better, because they know how to turn that lead into long-term revenue, right? And so then they become a utility, right? After you become a utility, and then you don't even need to do lead gen because they just show up, right?
Yep.
So Google's a lead utility. We just show up. They don't have to run ads for us to use Google, right?
Yep.
So same thing with electric company. You don't see the Duke Power here running, you know, lead gen ads on Google.
Right.
That means I just go. Who's, you know, that's it. So that's what happens. Yeah. And so in that case, it's like with those people, it's not necessarily the money that's the currency, it's time. And so you have to think of currency and time currency, and then sell to them using time currency, because even though they're not going to give you money, they will give you time. But what happens when they give you time, that means they can't use that time to make money somewhere else. So for example, when I talk to people, I'll have people DM me like, hey, can I pick your brain? I'm like, yeah, you can. After you pay me, you can pick my brain, right? Because what happens is, like, if you pick my brain, I can't do other shit, which actually makes me money. So no, right? That's what happens. And I'm very polite about it, but that's what happens. So these people, for example, you have somebody that makes, say, $2 million a year.
Yep.
The fallacy of it is like trying to get them to give you $10 or $100 or $200, when really their time is worth like $500 an hour, $1,000 an hour, $5,000 an hour. They're giving you like $500 just by talking to you or looking at your sales message, you know? So
it's just all about the message and the value you're offering on the front end, and you're buying customers at scale. And in our case, trying to, buying customers at break even, so that we can get a smaller percentage of them into ultimately what we want to, that will qualify and won't be interested in the thing. We're buying the relationship.
Pretty much, yeah. If I was you, man, I would just do a course on like split testing or whatever, like split testing offers, whatever, and then just like back in your software. Like, I mean, Aim Higher Academy did that shit with Go High Level. They put like 6,000 people into recurring, man.
Okay, so the front end just directly to split testing, and the back end, keep it simple with the upsells. The back end is the software. 1, 2.
The biggest problem you have is not people buying your software. The biggest
Yep.
problem you have is people switching to your software. That is really difficult, right? So for example, if somebody's using God knows the what's the Visual Website Optimizer or whatever,
Yep.
not only do you have to get them to say no to that, you have to get them to say to yes to this. Is why Peter Thiel's, with the 0 to 1, you have to have 10x or so 100x or something like that for people to move over. Yeah. So your great challenge isn't getting new customers, it's getting people to switch over. That's the challenge you have. So you have to get them to switch over. And in that switch over, you have to create awareness for your product and what your methodology is, why it's better than what their methodology is.
Yep.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. Thanks, man.
Yep. Angela, go ahead. You had your hand up for a minute.
Thanks, Alan. So I'm wondering what you would do if you were, if you just pivoted to this space. I mean, like I absolutely enjoy it and I really want to get better. And it's absolutely true, like what you said. So I feel like I can definitely make more money if I were not selling here in the Philippines. And that's like my biggest takeaway for this class, like where I sell matters more than what I sell,
Yes.
And and you also mentioned that it's best to like run offers in your own country. And then in my experience, that's been like, I mean, we're at the top of the game. And I wanted to know if you were in my shoes, how would you do it if you wanted to get better and make a lot of money at the same time with the focus on getting better? Would you kind of like focus on one path, which is like BizOp, optimize the hell out of it, or would you branch out into like other offers in other industries?
I would stick with BizOp. The thing is though, like, Filipino culture and American culture is very similar. Like it might just be, the language. See, if you spoke and you didn't tell us that you were from the Philippines, we would not know, right? Like we would not know. Like there's no distinction from in America. Most Americans or Europeans, we cannot there's no distinction, right? Like China, I can tell if somebody's from China by the accent or something like that. But Filipinos, I cannot tell. It is indistinguishable from Americans. So that means that there's no distinction. You can easily sell to the American market, right? So I would just do what you do, but sell to the American market and just clean up.
Okay, gotcha. So you think it would be better if I kind of just like focused on this and just kind of like switch the market?
I would do both. I would do both.
Great.
We got a combo for this.
Yeah, I would do both, man. I would do both. And I would stay in BizOp. Yeah, because the thing is, like, what happens is like as the interest rates go up, access to credit goes down, and then companies can also borrow as cheaply to make stuff. So prices go up. So it creates this pressure point, and then people will seek to make money online. So that market will go up a lot in the next 2 years. Yeah, a lot.
Gotcha. All right, Alan, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Ali.
Hey, Alan, thanks for the call today, man. I have a question about what you mentioned with markets and how they essentially, the offers just keep getting more and more outlandish. Like they say, like a guarantee, and I'll guarantee you $10,000. I'll give you my penny.
Yeah.
So when it's in a market like that, and there's a lot of people making offers, and there's a lot of like skepticism because of bad quality results, what's the best way to get around that? Because it's not guarantees aren't the best way. Is it doing convincer models or like what?
Yeah. Convincer models. What it is with a lot of these guys don't have any patience. They're basically, they want the money right now because they're just outcome oriented. And most of these guys treat the business as a lifestyle business. When somebody treats the business as a lifetime business, the whole thing is like, get the cash out so I can go pay for stuff, right? And this is their great weakness, right? Because if they don't really have a real business, they have a lifestyle business. And so if they have a lifestyle business, then you just pull money out, And then when you pull money out, then it's like they're basically are making whatever promises they can to get the customer to pay, right? But basically what's happening is that means that the smart customers, the good customers are resistant to their sales message. So they're getting worse and worse and worse and worse of customers. So if you have a
Yes.
customer that needs like $30,000 guarantee, that's not the customer you want. I've had a guy come to Automatic Clients and he was like, can you give me a guarantee? I'm like, no, like he literally pushed it. I'm like, I'm not giving you a fucking guarantee because I'm like, you can't guarantee to me if you're going to do anything.
Right.
I'm like, I don't know what you're going to do. How can you expect me to guarantee it? Like, I don't know if you're going to do anything, you know?
Yeah.
And so like he just did, I was like, I'm not taking your money, fuck off. Right. And so, anyway, so yeah, it's a convincer models and it's like, you basically start time, consistency, and the other thing, frequency, and you start incorporating that. And then you just create more awareness, like I talked, and then basically they'll know you're the real deal, you know, and then they'll just basically more apt to buy. It does take a longer. What happens is in the market, claims go up. What they're trying to do is they're trying to shorten the sales cycle, right? So the way they try to shorten the sales cycle by increased claims, and this always happens, right? So let me write that down.
So, for example, like in the context of what I'm doing lead gen for equipment financing companies right now. And essentially a lot of the customers they're getting like horrible leads and they're being sold to multiple people and they're like, they don't know if it's like a scraped list or not. So essentially trying to like combat all those objections. Does that mean that I would have to do like multiple ads and sequence them and then, or just like a longer sales page? Like what would be the best way to structure that?
What's the market again?
It's equipment financing companies.
What did I finance?
Equipment.
Oh, equipment. Well, in that market, typically, like you got to figure out what's important to them, right? Like what's important to them. Like, is it information? Is it like ease of information? Is it qualification of credit? Whatever, right? There's also typically one thing.
Them being qualified.
Yeah, and then just basically just be like, I would just do a quiz model and basically like discover if you can qualify, and then basically go through that process, right? So basically, you want to answer them question. They have a question: am I qualified? And answer that question: are they qualified? And move them to there, you know?
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay.
Mm.
Okay. Cool. All right. Thanks, man.
Yeah. So what happens when the claims go up? They're trying to compress the sales cycle, right? Because typically it will take you this long to convince somebody. And then what they're trying to do with claims, they're trying to make it go like this because they can't wait, you know? So they try to go like this. And so this means scaling the negative. This means right now. So this has to go up and up and up and up. And then eventually FTC comes and kicks them in the nuts there. And so that's how that works, right? So these claims keep going up. That tell me is that their customers are resisting. They want more of this. They want a longer sales cycle. What is this? They're pushing this. You see?
Yeah, that
That's
makes sense. So don't try to rush them. Just take it slow. Give them all the information they need and the right steps. So that they
Yeah, I
can.
can't tell you, like a lot of people here to join this and fast forward and stuff like that. They'll be like, hey, can I get the link? And I'll give them the link. And like 3 weeks later, they join. Like the guy that owns Vitalytics, Patrick Stiles. I think he asked me for a link like 2 weeks ago. I just sent them the link and I just don't bother them. And like they come back when they're ready, right? So it's like that's the thing. But if I went and bothered them and chased them, I'm trying to do this. I'm fucking with their timeline. Gotta leave them alone. Can't fuck with their timeline. You know, you can still talk to them, communicate. Don't pressure them.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I think that'll definitely help with how to restructure it. Cool. Thanks, man.
Exactly. All right. Who was next? Eric or Wilson? Sorry, one of your
Hey,
team
Alan.
people. Hey, what's up?
We just really went deep for a second. I'm gonna bring it back up to more service. Going back to pricing. So I'm getting ready to launch in the next week or two with my AC model offer, and basically getting everything edited right now. But then I'm going back to the pricing of it because in Fast Forward we talked about the pricing thresholds of men versus women. 10, 100,000, so on and so forth. Because I'm mostly targeting men. How and when should I look at, let's say, $3 like $297 versus $11.60, which is what I'm testing first or what I want to test first? Like, when should I split test those different ideas of pricing and all those things to look at AOV contribution?
I would start off at low. I would start off at 3 and then just basically go to if you're gonna split test, I would do 3 versus 27, see what happens.
Okay.
And then one of them is gonna become a lot better than the other. Like, you'll be very like quite different, right? So when I split test, what most people do when they split test, they'll do like stupid split tests, like it'll just be like this word versus that word, whatever, right? So how and why is fine, that's different psychologically speaking, but they'll be like, this versus that. And it's like, it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things because the convincer models, they control things, right? So what I try to do is test, if you're gonna split test dramatic opposites, complete opposites, and see where it lands. So if it lands on 27, then start optimizing over here, right? If it lands on this, then go over here. But most people try to go here and they're like trying to do this little by little, right? It takes forever. It's like you want to kill yourself, right? So I would just split this and ClickFunnels, whatever you're using, 3 versus 27, and then look at the AOV and see what happens.
Got it. And so that's why 3 versus 27, because it's way beyond under the threshold of $10 and over the threshold of $10, correct?
Right.
Got it. Okay. So I'll start with 3 and then we'll look at it at 27. Should I be like a period of time, like a month, a week? Like what's my like threshold, like 100 sales?
No, you'll know in like 20 sales, 30 sales. It's pretty early. So because these things convert very well, you'll know pretty quickly. Like, I mean, statistically speaking, there are 1,000 sales and all that shit, but it's whatever. It's like, you'll know, you know, like with like 20 sales, what's up.
Awesome. Thank you.
It tells pretty quickly. Yeah. And so the higher the intent, the less data you need. Right. And so upsells don't need that many conversions to see where they're going to land because the intent is very high, you know?
Right. Now their buying emotions also the highest right after that first purchase as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So you don't need as much.
Got it.
Zell?
Yeah, then so one of the things you mentioned is that on international you can't really charge high because there is a lot of people without that amount of money, and you know my market is really a lot more on the international side.
Yep.
So what you're talking about right now is like when you can get them with a lower offer, and then you can shine the light on their path, and
Yeah.
since low prices will get everyone in a sense, so people just drop out as you raise the prices as you go along, but that also creates desire justification if you continue to build a relationship and shine a path on where can they go towards the outcome they want to. Is that kind of where that is?
Yeah. Yeah. It's not that higher prices push people out. It's that there's other things they rather have than trade you that money for they could get at the same time, right? So for example, you know, when you get to $500 or whatever, well, you could buy other stuff for $500. So then you have to ask yourself, do I want this more than, or do I need this more than the other thing, right? Which is it? So that's how that works, right? And so in different countries, what happens is that value of money in relative to the cost of living there carries a lot more weight, so they can get more stuff. So for example, in the Philippines, you can get a lot more stuff for $500 than you can in America, right? So in the Philippines, that trade-off is a lot harder because they can get a lot more stuff. So for example, they could pay rent for 2 months and eat and pay all the bills for that, right? Where in America, you can't even, you know, that's like a week worth of rent or something. You see what I mean? So there's relativity of value as far as the money and the trade-offs of what they can do. That's the issue.
So when it comes to selling them, because there's the acquisition phase and the profit phase, right?
Yeah.
And you talk about a lot about creating the high ticket offers, and when it comes to high ticket offers, most of the buyers will be Western countries where it's the people that are richer. So then if it's talking about the rest of the world, then would it be slightly more towards mid-tier prices or?
Yeah. Yeah, mid-tier. Yeah, we sold some high ticket to Mexico and stuff like that. It's really weird. And like, yeah, I would say mid-tier price. It's all it's 10% of their income. That's the ratio. It's 10% of their income. So whatever the average income is, 10%, that's kind of like give or take a little bit, you can get out of them safely without like burning them. You know, you can go and like, you know, get somebody in and, you know, get a phone guy, you know, push it, get 20%, whatever, 50%. What a lot of guys will do now is they'll put them in debt, which I don't really like. So it's about 10% of their income you can get annually. Yeah. That's kind of like ecological. And what I mean by ecological is like healthy, so that they're happy, you're happy, they're not stressed. You know, they don't feel ripped off. You know, they feel it's good, you know, because you want to keep them long-term as a customer.
Got it. Well, so one last thing. So because the trade-offs, because they have a lot of different possible trade-offs, then what you can do is to work on turning the wants into a need, so that importance becomes a lot higher. But doesn't mean that you can raise the prices a lot higher for them, just that you need to make it more important for them.
Well, prices are dictated by the outcome, relativity of outcome, right? And that relativity of outcome has to be connected to status, security, and reproduction, right? So the more status a man can gain from something, the higher the price can be. So that's why, you know, Lamborghini, Ferrari, Louis Vuitton, Rolex, Patek Philippe, all these things cost a lot of money, and women are willing to pay for it because it lets them they have more status over other men through symbolic. And we're going to do a call on symbolism, right? That's really important, because once you learn how to do symbolism, then you can do a lot of this stuff without saying anything, right? And so you can pack a lot more energy into the message without having to say a lot of words. So for example, you know, if you have a $250,000 Patek on your hand and your wrist, you know, you don't have to tell somebody you make millions of dollars. It's assumed. You see what I mean? It carries a lot of power. If you show up in a Rolls Royce, you don't have to say anything. It's assumed. If you don't, then you have to say something. So that's how that works, you know? So yeah, international traffic is very good. There's a shit ton of it. And so it's like, it's interesting because it's really underserved. Like if you look at Udemy, man, dude, it's fucking crazy. Like some of those courses have like 15, 17,000 reviews, 17,000 reviews. And that's like, you know, something like 2% of the people leave reviews. So that's like 200,000 sales. It's fucking big, dude.
Yeah, so because one of the things I'm thinking about is perhaps I should start creating courses and putting them at low prices instead of high prices.
Well, what you should do is consider like making like the codeacademy.com or something like that. And then like having it under that umbrella, like have a vision, you know? Like there's a call I did in Festival called Hierarchy of Visions. You should watch that. So you're missing that. That's the part you're missing. Hierarchy of Visions. You don't have a vision for your business. If you don't have a vision, you can't see where you're going.
I actually do have one where I really want to brand it under something called Magical Devs or something, right? Magical Dev School. So really, yeah, creating developers that can really make magic and make anything on the internet, that stuff.
Do it. It's great. Yeah, but I think that, all right, cool. Tony? Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Tony has, yeah. What's up, Tony?
Hello. Awesome call today. I think this is like one of the big reasons why I jumped into NSP Plus is for the low ticket model as well too. So I help high school families get into colleges as well too. I also got passion of mine, and last year I discovered like Facebook group to like nurture them. And so this last year, first year doing it, made 300,000 off the coaching model.
That's awesome.
Super awesome. So I'm trying to blow it up completely because I feel like there's not a lot of people in this space. I think a lot of people here in the biz ops space is no one really doing what we're doing in the education space. I'm hoping to dominate that is the first thing. So any recommendations? I'm kind of torn. Should I go with what's called for my demographic? I'm assuming it's like moms is the biggest thing I've learned. So like course, book, and like price ranges for those. And if you had to pick your brain, like how would you go about that as well too?
So yeah, that's great. We had a guy do an offer teaching tutors how to make money. Those did really well, right? And so yeah, definitely we'll do like a low ticket offer to moms, and then basically be like, you know, something like how to get into schools, whatever, do that thing. And then what I would do in the back is I would have that as my break even thing. In the back, I would sell tutoring services, right? So I have a good buddy, Ray Blakeney. He owns what is it? Hold on a second. Let me look it up. He does huge, just a, let me see, Ray. He's like the biggest Spanish tutoring. You know, I'll get him to do a call for us here. He's awesome. I love that. I'll do a Monday call. I'll hit him up after a call. Let me see. Ray. He owns Podcast Hawk too. He's a great guy. And he owns this like tutoring. There it is. He owns this company called this tutoring company. It's really good. And we also have Dan Reutman in Fast Forward. He owned, what the hell was that offer? It was like the biggest language learning offer, Pimsleur Approach. He owns Pimsleur Approach. But if you have something like Array in the back where like you connect them with tutors and you could take a cut right there, there's the link. That would be like a $10-20 million business instead of a $300,000 a year business, right? Because it's like the problem, they start getting to these schools. Well, they're going to need to be smart to do well in these schools. And then you can basically sell them tutoring at $500, whatever, you know? So I think that would be the strategy if it was me in that market personally.
Got it. Would you, for your front end, do you think a course or a book would be like the smartest? Because I think I want to do something, but I'm not sure which direction two go down?
I think book will give you better credibility, because if you think like higher education, you think book, you don't think course, right?
Mhm.
Gives you a little more prestige.
Perfect. So I'm probably gonna aim for a book at like the $3 mark and then upsell the backs and as well too.
Yep, I would do a book, and then I would do like how to study for certain tests to get acceptance, whatever, like the cheat codes, whatever.
Mhm.
And then I would have like upsell to, like you can have like a community of like moms or parents, or something like that to join.
Perfect. Awesome. I'll get on that. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm. One thing with the book is that not nobody, but very few read the whole thing. So the first 20 pages of your book are basically an advertisement for the rest of your stuff. But I'll get Ray to do a call. I'll get Ray to do a call for everybody here. Like he's an awesome guy. Like this business does extremely well. It's like, I think it's the biggest Spanish tutoring businesses out there. It's awesome. Yes, Angela.
So you mentioned when people pay you to to subscribe to you, basically they're paying you to sell more shit.
Yeah.
So what I've noticed with our community is that our acquisition is amazing. We don't have any problem. Fulfilling our service is amazing, as in people get clients in 7 days. Literally, like these are people who, some of them didn't even finish high school.
Yep.
They're dishwashers. They get clients in like 14 days, right?
Yep.
So this, I think one of our biggest selling points is speed. Now with how even though that's really amazing for us and for them because we get lots of testimonials, one of the things I've noticed is that one of our biggest problems is retention. So I was thinking, okay, maybe it's just because, there's just this low ticket, there's really nothing on the back end. And I think that's one factor, but also I've seen this other community just have one mid or like even a $200 offer, and their community buys it again and again and again and again and again. And that's not happening with us. So I'm like wondering if it's the product, is it because there's not a lot of novelty anymore?
Yep.
I'm just wondering like why?
You teach them. It's funny. I know exactly why without even looking at your business. You guys want to know why? It's there in front of her and she can't see it. You're teaching a process. And once they learn the process, they don't have any need to pay you anymore. That's why. And I always see this, people that teach process, whenever they have a process and somebody learns a process, they're out.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Is that true? You teach a process, don't you?
Yes.
There you go.
It works every single time. It's been working for years and years and years. It's been amazing. And I was just like wondering, but they're also like this other community. They're also teaching a process, but it's much, I think it's much more in depth than that. And I'm just like wondering, their retention is freaking amazing. I think it's also their community where it's like, not really sure how they set that up, but I think they focus on product development as well. So like, if you were in my shoes, what would you do?
You got to give them support around the process. That's what they'll pay you for, right? And then you gotta have you don't have a growth journey, right? So they might become freelancers, they want an agency, they want something else, etc. You don't have a growth journey. So you have a process. And so for example, once imagine you have a recipe, right? You say you have a delicious Filipino food and I pay you, here's $10, teach me how to make this food. And once I learn it, why would I pay? And then you pay me every month once I learn how to cook the food. It doesn't make sense, right? So you have to create experience and support around, well, now that you cook the food, learn to cook this other thing, learn to open a restaurant and so on and so forth, right? Whenever you, this is the great downfall, right? Which is process is really fantastic because it's hands-off, it works, fucks up retention. And then once it stops working, there. But on the other hand, if you don't have a process like me, you have to come on these calls for 4 hours and magically pull content out of your head every week, twice a week, which is not easy at all, right? And it has to be unique, has to be different, has to be, so my brain does a lot of work when I'm not on these calls. Like, we're running marathons over there, so, you gotta figure out structure. So it's like you have a process, but then you have another process. It doesn't look like a process. Where is the process where you give them support and take them on this journey, right? And you make them aware of, and this is and the phrase you use is this is only the beginning. This is only the beginning. This is only the beginning, right? So every step, this is only something. So implies there's something next,
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, totally. So what I've done to kind of like remedy that is, so basically, my business partner, who's also my boyfriend, we used to have two different companies, and he had the volume of people, and I kind of had like the people who wanted to have agencies, and I had like bigger results than, his students in terms of how much money's made because of leverage. And we kind of like combined the two companies together because like the people who want agencies, they're currently at the bottom, like starting their freelancing journey, right? So that's what we've done, and kind of I think we just need to maybe make it a more cohesive journey where it's like, hey, this is not the end for you. It's like just exactly what you said, like there's something next, there's something next,
Yeah.
there's the thing,
Yeah.
the next thing.
Yeah, what
Yeah,
you have to here's what you have to realize, like the great marketers in this space. It's funny, I did this call for Fast Forward and I went deep on it. I'll just a little bit of it here. It's a TV show, it's a TV series, and you have a season, the season goes away, season comes back, right? It's a TV show. Every time it's a TV show. What a lot of them do is they don't know this, right? And so like Frank Kern, I don't know if he knows this consciously, unconsciously, but when I look at his marketing, it's a TV show. It's a very good TV show. He knows when to come back for a new season, right? There's new adventure, new events, new cast, etc., right? What most people do is they'll make a movie. And what happens once you see a movie? You don't want to see it again, do you? It's done.
Yeah.
Big TV show, right? The ones that have long survival rate in this space, like Frank, like Dan Kennedy, like Russell Brunson and others, it's a TV show, right? Every season has traffic secrets, funnel secrets, TV show, right? So you have to think TV show. You have a TV show, you see, not a movie. Right now it's a movie with like an okay sequel. So TV show gives you the open thing to run it for 20, 30 seasons if you want.
Right, gotcha. I have another question, which is like, what are your thoughts on, so we're gonna have an event next month,
Mhm.
and it's gonna be like a 5-day summit. What are your thoughts on offering something like a kind of like a one-time offer, but on the spot and like with a 30-minute window?
Say that again.
So on the 5th day of the event, which is when we're going to be doing the upsell, to get a lot of like buyers up front, we were thinking about giving an on-the-spot offer, which is going to be like, hey, you're only going to get this if you get our offer, pay in full in the next 30 minutes. What do you think about doing that?
I think it's fine. What I would do instead is like, I would help them like build whatever they got to build in those 5 days. And then basically say, now you can go run it by yourself, or you can join us to go to actually turn this into a real money maker. It's your choice, right? Because what happens is they take ownership of something, right? So for example, like you say, hey, do you want this car? You take ownership of this car. And I say, okay, well, if you want this car, you need that gasoline that I'm selling. So it's like, you can keep the car, but you can't run it without me, right? So
Right, so we are
independent.
We are doing that. We are doing that. And also we're thinking of doing what I just said, which was, hey guys, get this like right now, because on top of everything else that, I mean, we are pretty much giving them the transformation, how to do, like, they don't need to like, be a member, because they've pretty much already had like the pieces they need. And so for me, what I was thinking about was to up the conversions fast, was to give something that they would never get anywhere else. And that's pretty much like, we were thinking, give them like 30 minutes of our time if they pay in full on that 30-minute window.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, 30 minutes might be a little pressure there. Like when people have pressure, they say no. So yeah, I might give them just a little more, you know. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what do you say, like till the end of the webinar or something like that?
Is it in person or webinar?
It's a live event. So I just said webinar to like.
So is it
Wait.
like in person or like a live event on Zoom like this?
A live one, yeah, on Zoom.
Okay, that's different then. Yeah, that's fine. Then by the end of the call, whatever. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right, gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Alan. Appreciate
You're
it.
welcome. All right. One last question. I gotta go, guys. I love talking to you. I could talk all day, but I do have an appointment. So we've been here 3 hours and 40 minutes. We're supposed to do these for 1 hour, but we're rocking like fucking 4 hours every week. It's okay. I love doing it though. We can keep going for like 18 hours if need be. All right, Aiden, what's your question, bud?
All right, that's a good question for the last.
Sure.
If I took everything you have, your money, your connection, your network, everything, and I brought you back to square one, what should you do? What would you do to have a profit to start?
Yeah, I would just go find where free traffic exists, right? Into ecosystems that operate in free traffic, such as the joint venture networks, right? Networks. It's basically accessing networks, right? So first thing I would do is I would identify an area where there's money to be made, and then I would figure out how to get access to the network, right? So it can either be a network of business owners, copywriters, freelancers, digital agency owners, JV guys, whatever, right? Some type of network. And I would study the network. And what I would do is I would study how money exchanges hands. Money is just a form of exchange. And then I would study, why does somebody give money for something else? What is the exchange taking place? Once I know the exchange taking place, then I can have something to exchange for that money in that exchange taking place. And I would become friends with 2 or 3 influential people or people that have something in common. And I would build a relationship, and I would basically insert myself into their network, and I would start conducting business on a small scale in their network and then grow from there.
That's crazy.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep. Which goes back to where's the money made, right? So where's money is made, it's a lot easier to make it, right? It's like you want to go where the money is, right? So there's this I was reading this book about these guys like in the 70s and stuff, like when they were 50s, 60s, whatever, like when they found oil in Texas, right? It's all these like con men in America, right? Like how they operate, and like they all went to Texas, and they call them people handlers. That's what, they call them scammers these days. Then it used to be con men, and they used to be called people handling, right? And one of the things they all had in common is they would all go where money is easily made, right? Where there's easy money. They wouldn't go to areas where you have to go work, right? So they wouldn't go where and it's like in some level, like they're very smart, right? So when you think about it, it's like I said, like when a market is good, the terrible offer can make money, right? So one thing I would change to that, by the way, is I would identify a market where it's growing and there's money exchanging, right? And typically growth, you have to have some type of data, something that facilitates growth. I think internet, something that facilitates growth, is usually a new form of technology that enables communication, right? Because if you think about it, what's Facebook? It's communication. What's Google? It's communication. What's newspaper? It's communication. And what we do is we run advertising on top of that communication. What's TikTok? It's communication. YouTube, communication. We're communicating, right? Sending messages, and we can send messages on top of that, right? And so one of the things of innovation in our world to make money is to look for what is facilitating communication, right? So pay attention to what is facilitating communication. So in that facilitated communication, is that market growing? Like crypto, is that growing? Is the supplement market growing? Is the ClickBank marketplace growing? How easy is it, right? And the way you can see it, you can see frequency of people entering that space and repetition of events, right? So are people entering it? And how many events are being repeated? So for example, if I see this space and a bunch of people are entering it and I see them repeating the webinar model a lot, that tells me, and surely not all of them can be smart. They're just copying each other, right? What are they doing? Because you see this repetition, right? When you can see this repetition, then it has the frequency. The frequency would tell you the how much money is vibrating in that area, right? How much it is, how easy to move. The higher the frequency of stuff, the more money exchanges hands, right? And so that's what I would look at, the market, right? So like I have a friend, I'll see if I can get him a call. Like he has an uncanny ability to like, he comes out, I talk about this, like does an offer every 2 to 3 years. No, it's like 5 years, maybe 2, 3 years, 5 years, whatever. And he'll make like a shit ton of money and he'll just leave. Right. So he did it with, he came on ClickBank with WordPress Mage. His name is Greg Jacobs. He made like, I think $7 to $10 million off of WordPress Mage. Then he came into, then he left. He has this huge mansion in, you know, Chiang Mai. There's a little village above Chiang Mai called Pai. And he has this huge mansion in Pai with like servants and chickens and, you know, all that. It's crazy, right? So he made a bunch of money and then he left. Then he came back, you know, when Kickstarter came up, he did a Kickstarter thing with like a yoga mat or something, like you put an iPad. He made like millions of dollars of a stupid yoga mat. Then he dipped and then he reemerged. He's like a, you know, like a groundhog. Whenever he emerges, I'm like, here's a new trend of making money, right? So he reemerged during the crypto boom. He started a coin or something, made like God knows how much money. Like he was out in South Korea talking on stage and all that shit, right? Now he's gone again. And I'm friends, you know, on Facebook and I follow him on Instagram. And it's funny because he just like rides bikes, travels, lives the life. Very easy, right? But because he always, he focuses on markets more than anything else, it's very easy for him to make a lot of money, right? Very easy. Like he just comes in and rides that wave, you know? So if you're in the ocean, you'd ride a wave versus having to pedal your way, you know, pedal your way across, you know, it carries you. So markets largely will carry you, you know?
Yeah.
Market where you sell rules over everything else. Like it controls everything else, you know? Like
That's
real
crazy.
Yeah, real estate market in America, right? I don't know in other countries, but like 3, 4 years ago, you just have to be here. You can buy the shittiest house, hold it, wait 6 months, make 100 grand. You did not have to be a real estate expert. You see?
Yeah.
So the goal is to find that, like find those, you know, and then it becomes a lot easier, you know. So call done, guys. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you. Almost 4 hours. I'm going to render this sucker, upload it. I will see you next week. CRO, CMO work next week. And I'll put all the templates and everything here in a Google Doc for you. Upload it, render it. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you. Platform is almost ready. More stuff to come to your way, guys. It's going to be getting better and better and better and better. And I'll see you on Discord. And don't be shy. Let's talk more on Discord. I want you guys active chatting. Like in the Fast Forward Lounge, we're we're like 24 hours chatting. Like it's kind of quiet in the NHB Lounge. I want to talk more with you guys. So let's chat more and like let's have fun. See you guys. Have a wonderful weekend. Take care, everyone. Bye.